dominating Hollywood starting with Scarlett. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26 Contract concluded. Although Maloney rejected his idea, Tang didn't seem to be hit at all. Before he could speak, his good brother Jimmy spoke first. But I think Tang's idea is more direct and can hit the audience more. He pointed at himself. I usually eat ketchup. The reason why I don't buy those seasoned ketchup is because they give me a fake feeling and are not made of tomatoes at all. That's why I choose Heinz. But you can only represent Heinz's loyal users, right? Maloney retorted, we are now facing a brand new buyer. They don't know what Heinz has. They only know his ketchup. We want to expand these new buyers, right? But if it were me, I would definitely hope that the advertisement could give me what I want directly. Jimmy spread his hands and looked speechless. Apollon was also a little embarrassed. I think what Jimmy said makes some sense. Seeing that Apollon was wavering, Maloney could only raise his fist. Okay, let's vote. Raise your hands if you think my idea is good. Apollon and himself raised their hands, and Tang and Jimmy just watched. Damn it, I should have called one more person. This is the drawback of the four-person council, and Maloney is somewhat helpless about it. So why not let the customer make a choice? Tang spread his hands, speechless. What do you mean? Let the customer see two ideas? Maloney asked in confusion. Why not? Tang did not comment, just say that we value the customer very much and give two sets of plans, right? Okay, but this will make us passive in front of the customer. Maloney's expression was a little reluctant. Let's do it this way. Tang was too lazy to argue with him and decided directly, let the customer decide. Half an hour later, Tang and Jimmy sat in the restaurant to eat. Jimmy couldn't help but complain, look at that show-off, calling him a brand new buyer. Come on, who doesn't eat ketchup in America? He took the ketchup from the restaurant and squeezed a big dollop of it on his fries, then reached out to stuff the fries into his mouth. This taste is definitely not Heinz. There is no tomato taste at all, only sweetness. So Heinz must be very worried about its market share being constantly encroached by these seasoning ketchups. Tang raised his eyebrows. This is also the reason why they are bidding, but it's a pity that Maloney didn't realize this. Just wait and see, he will definitely make a fool of himself in front of the customers. After dinner, Tang rushed back to the Bronx and met Giorgio, the vice president of Republic Records, in a cafe. He changed into a blue shirt, but it was still ironed. But his expression was not as relaxed as the first time they met. It seemed that after talking with Badman about SBK, he was also worried about Raymond's new song promotion strategy. After meeting Tang, he greeted him and asked, I heard from Badman that you have an idea for publicity. Yes. Tang took a sip of coffee, then frowned. It was bitter, but he had to say that only this could make him feel more realistic about his current life. If you don't like it, you can add sugar. Giorgio raised his cup and whispered, in fact, I also added 3 packets. Ha ha ha. Tang and him laughed at the same time, and then got straight to the point. I do have an idea, but in fact, whether this single is successful has nothing to do with me. I found you just because I think you are more compatible with me than Edmund. Giorgio nodded slightly. He could feel that Tang was communicating with him in an equal manner, not asking for help. But it must be said that facing an MV director who is quite accomplished in color and can make the texture of the song even better, Giorgio can accept this attitude. I also hate that Edmund. He has always been known for his arrogance in the industry, but he is right in saying that the idea of using a fake name for publicity is no longer appropriate. Giorgio stirred his coffee and continued, if we continue with this publicity strategy, then you will see major radio stations exposing Raymond's real name and the song Beast Star he once released. Then the fans will not buy it. So we have to do it the other way around. Tang's seemingly simple words made Giorgio frown instantly. What do you mean? Do it the other way around. We'll talk about the specific ideas later. Tang deliberately kept him in suspense. Let's talk about the remuneration first. Oh please. Giorgio's whole face was gathered together uncomfortably. It was obvious that Tang's hesitation made him feel a little empty. However, out of professionalism, he still thought seriously about how much he should pay Tang. Before Tang finished his coffee, he finally made up his mind and said, 4%. What? I mean, 4% of the song sales. Giorgio did not continue to sell the lawsuit, and directly stated his bottom line: "This is the maximum range after my discussion with Batman." Giving Tang to 4% means that both parties have to pay 2% each. Although it is not much, it is not a small number once the sales volume increases. The best way to make someone work hard is to tie him to the boat of interests. People on the same boat will naturally spare no effort for the same goal. Tang was also very satisfied with the remuneration mentioned by Giorgio. He liked Giorgio's directness and straightforwardness. Then it's settled. Let me talk about this promotion method first. After Tang finished speaking, Giorgio was surprised. He didn't expect Tang to have such ideas in promotion. It's amazing. Tang, you should work in publicity. How did such a genius idea come out of your head? Giorgio picked up his cup and clinked it with his, and said with a smile, "I feel that everyone in our company should learn from you. My God, it's wonderful. I'm already looking forward to it just by listening to it. Only in this way can Edmund's calculations fail." That's right, he thought we would follow the script? No, we have to do the opposite. That's how it should be. The two hit it off and went to Kirk's office. After Kirk drafted the contract, they signed the agreement. Not long after, Tang also received the news that Giorgio and Batman had signed the music copyright. They have decided to release the new single this Thursday. Because the Billboard changes the chart on Tuesday, 5 days can be used to accumulate sales and on-demand volume. At that time, it will be directly airborne to the top of the Billboard, which will also have a better promotional significance for the song. However, the most urgent thing at the moment is not this matter, but the creative campaign of Heinz advertising. Jimmy is already helping Don prepare the physical advertising materials. After all, he is really looking forward to Don's speech tomorrow to defeat Maroney and several other companies' proposals and convince Heinz. Chapter 27 Advertising Campaign. Heinz's advertising campaign was held in their headquarters building. Early in the morning, Tang, Jimmy and others were waiting outside the meeting room in the building. There were 3 main companies competing for the advertising this time, namely IPG, Ogilvy and Lion. Among the 3, only Lion was the smallest. If it weren't for the recommendation of Domino's boss, they couldn't even enter the door of the building. From this point, it can be seen that the top management of Heinz Company does not seem to be rigid, and everything is based on creativity. Tang wore a formal suit for the first time today. The gray-blue suit with a dark green tie looked elegant and charming. The short skirt and black stockings female clerk who was receiving the reception next to him would peek in this direction from time to time. Perhaps she felt that it was not enough to be far away, so she simply brought a glass of water over and handed it to Tang. "Thank you." Tang nodded and smiled and thanked her. "Damn it, Tang, I really shouldn't sit with you." Jimmy rolled his eyes. It was like this when he was in school. Whenever there was a good-looking girl, she would definitely go for Tang. Standing aside, he was like a foil. "You are also handsome, Jimmy, but you are just a little bit behind me," Tang said and looked at the other two. Apollon was still as solid as a hill, sitting up and down on the chair like a balloon. And Maroney was even more showy today, wearing a white suit and a pink tie, like a male host in a nightclub. He was holding a few pieces of paper and silently reciting the words, and seemed to have made sufficient preparations. In comparison, Tang seemed much more casual. Several people waited for a while, and suddenly heard the light yellow wooden door of the conference room creaking, and then a group of elites in suits and leather shoes walked out from behind the door. They were from IPG Advertising Company, which is a global advertising company based in New York and is very large. So just from their temperament, you can see that they are a little arrogant. When this group of people passed by, Maroney wanted to stand up and say hello, but as soon as his butt left the chair, he found that they had no intention of stopping at all, and walked straight past with big strides. Maroney had to pretend to be calm and brushed off the dust on his body, muttering to himself, "It's so tiring to sit." But no one paid attention to his words, because Tang had already stood up and walked to the meeting room. "Wait a minute." Maroney stood up and rushed to the door before Tang, and walked in first. Jimmy saw this and whispered sarcastically, "I thought he was a chimpanzee seeking a mate in Africa, so anxious." "Don't insult chimpanzees, Jimmy." Tang straightened his collar and followed Apollon into the room. There were several sofas in the room to form the judges' seats, on which sat the senior executives of Heinz Company, and opposite was a whiteboard and several drawing boards. "Hello. Hello." When the executives of Heinz Company stood up to greet them, Maroney went forward to shake hands with him and introduced the 4 people on his side. And David, the Heinz executive, also briefly said the names of the judges on his side. But Tang didn't pay attention to the others. He only remembered the young man with short blonde hair named Henry who sat in the center, because he was the CEO who made the final decision. Okay, then let's not waste time. Let's get started. After a few pleasantries, David announced the start of the advertising creative speech, and Maroney immediately stood in front of the drawing board and talked freely. In fact, it's like this. Our Lion Advertising Company has prepared 2 creative ideas for the Heinz advertisement this time. Maroney made a lot of small movements when he spoke, like a hip-hop singer, and his fancy clothes made everyone dazzled. And the first idea is what I came up with. It's called Bring Heinz Here. Gentlemen, please look here. He was still talking about the previous idea. After showing Henry and the others a few foods, he turned over the plastic film, and a line of words suddenly appeared in front of everyone. Then he praised this advertising slogan again, from user psychology to advertising, and from advertising to journalism and communication. In short, it was confusing and sounded very high-end. However, Donda noticed that Henry's brows tightened and then relaxed after seeing this string of words. When Maroney paused in his voice, he suddenly interrupted and said, "But it doesn't look like it's showing our ketchup." Of course. Maroney didn't hear Henry's underlying meaning, but excitedly said, "Salad, steak sauce, ketchup, all kinds of seasonings are fine. Heinz, 2 words represent everything. You know, the most effective way of marketing is association, which is the audience's fantasy." Henry propped his chin with his hand and made a short nasal sound. Of course, if you need, ketchup can also appear in the picture. We can use both methods at the same time. Okay, I understand. Henry nodded lightly, his eyes drooping, and he seemed to be bored. Seeing his expression, David said, "Okay, thank you for your creativity, we will seriously consider it." As soon as this sentence came out, even the carefree Apollon heard the bad meaning, and hurriedly said, "Sorry, but we are not finished yet, there is another idea." "Another one?" David looked a little impatient. "Yes." Jimmy also echoed, "Completely different ideas." "Then listen to it again, David." Henry forced himself to cheer up and smiled and asked him to continue, but David looked at his watch. "Then I'll give you 5 more minutes, let's get started." Tang stood up and came to his drawing board. "In fact, it doesn't take 5 minutes, 2 minutes will do." Oh. This sentence finally made Henry feel a little interested, and Tang's confident temperament also made him a little more serious. "You must have been troubled by competitors for a long time, right?" Tang did not talk about his own ideas first, but instead raised a question. Then he said to their raised eyebrows, "Various flavored ketchup are emerging in an endless stream. In the publicity, everyone claims that their taste and flavor are the same as ketchup, but in fact, this is just deceiving the public, and it has been deceiving for too long." Henry nodded silently. This is what they have been worrying about. The market share of ketchup is so large. If it is taken over by other condiments, the profit of their company will be getting lower and lower. The cost of making real ketchup is already very high, so the market share must not be given up, which is why they keep promoting it. Tangda hit the point. Now it depends on how he can help himself solve, or alleviate, this situation. Tangda was prepared. "Look here." He turned the drawing board over, and it was a vertical cover. At the top was the classic Heinz tomato glass bottle, with rich sauce flowing down, and below was a row of advertising slogans. Heinz, the only ketchup. After Tangda read out this line of words, Henry immediately sat up straight and leaned forward slightly. "We don't need to emphasize too much, just emphasize the 3 words ketchup, because other companies' ketchup is flavored ketchup, which is the biggest difference between them and us. So what we have to do is not to lower ourselves to their level and talk to customers about discounts and taste. Instead, we have to seize the minds of users and equate Heinz with real ketchup. In this way, those flavored ketchups will naturally not threaten us, right?" After Tangda finished speaking, the conference room was quiet for a while, and then Henry applauded and stood up with a smile. "Great idea." David and his other executives also stood up and applauded. On the contrary, Apollon and his colleagues were a little flattered. As for Maroney, although he also smiled with a wrinkled face, there was a hint of sourness in his smile. "Heinz is the only ketchup. I believe that when customers see it, they will throw away all those junk seasoning ketchups." Henry continued after applauding, "Direct and concise, which is fundamentally different from other brands. Do you know what a really good idea should be? What? The senior executive next to him asked puzzledly. It should be done so that other companies cannot borrow this idea. Henry pointed to the sentence, the only ketchup, they can't use it at all, only us, only Heinz can use it this way, this is a good idea. Henry, what about other companies? David didn't expect the CEO to think so highly of this idea, and hurriedly reminded him. Other companies can just refuse it, David. Henry smiled and looked at Tang. I don't have time to deal with them now. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28, A Makeover. Over the weekend, all the major music radio stations in New York received a brand new single CD at the same time. The cover was still Raymond, and Republic Records didn't seem to have any intention of covering up Raymond. Except for the color completely changed, becoming a deep blue with a yellow title, and Raymond himself was covered by a pink halo. There was no difference from the first single. Compared with the cover of the previous single, this one is still eye-catching, but the difference is that the name on the cover is not Beast Nova, but Makeover. Yes, the name of the song 8 hours later was changed to Makeover, and at the same time a handwritten card was handed over to major DJs. At the same time as the radio stations received the new single, major music and video stores in New York also received a CD of Raymond's new song Makeover. Dival was one of the store owners. He had a dark complexion, 1/3 of Indian ancestry, a small curly hair, looked shrewd and stingy, and habitually waved his hands to express his emotions when he spoke. After receiving the sample disc sent by Republic Records, he didn't care much and put it aside until he finished his meal before picking it up again. A new look? How come this cover is the same as the previous Beast? Damn, it can't be the same person. Do you think that changing the color can make people forget the previous noise? After complaining, he directly put it into the DVD and played it. The music soon sounded, and the picture appeared on the TV. However, unlike the messy streets in the previous hip-hop MVs, or a group of good brothers standing in front of the car rapping, this time what appeared in front of Dival was a closed blue door, and as the prelude progressed, the door was getting closer and closer, as if there was something waiting to be unveiled inside. Dival was a little surprised. The whole MV showed a very unique color and temperament from the beginning. The blue and yellow were really matched with full tension, which caught his eye at once. Well, it seems that there are some brushes. Dival had to admit that the color of the MV was indeed amazing, but if it was just like this, it would not make people take out money. So then, he saw a suspenseful murder. Raymond was murdered to death by a plastic bag, and after the killer took off the hood, it turned out to be Raymond himself. He was bathed in blue, holding a pink cross and destroying everything, just like destroying his former self. Although I didn't quite understand it, I felt it was impressive. To be fair, the music wasn't catchy enough, but it was much better than the previous screaming rap song, and it was inexplicably brainwashing. The lyrics that kept looping matched the dark blue, and even Dival couldn't help shaking his head and humming a few lines. I feel like I've learned it. Is this really the Beast Raymond? Why does it feel like a different person? But it doesn't matter, as long as it sounds good. After watching the entire MV, he sang a few more lines, then picked up the phone and called the contact at Republic Records. Jack, Makeover, I want 800 copies. What? Not enough inventory? How is that possible? Only 300 left? Bullshit, when are you going to restock it? I'm sure it will sell out. There were many store owners like him who wanted to restock, and even Giorgio himself didn't expect that before the promotion started, the 15,000 CDs he prepared would be snatched up by various audio and video stores. At the same time, Tang and Raymond were sitting in the car, listening to DJ Lao AI's radio station. Lao AI, I heard that you have been repeating a song recently. The host did not introduce the song name directly as usual, but instead asked a question first. That's right, you will never guess who it is. SHXT, I am actually listening to his songs. And I am addicted to it. Tell me quickly, I believe everyone is curious too. It's Raymond, the Beast Raymond, the terrifying player who turned the streets of New York upside down as soon as he opened his mouth. FXXK. Raymond slapped the steering wheel angrily, like a gorilla running out of the zoo. When did I turn the streets upside down? Davis, who was sitting in the back, curled his lips. Not only did I turn the streets upside down, but there are also many people who want to ask you to pay for the car accident. Raymond turned around and glared. Davis immediately shut up, while Barley and Zioba grinned and laughed mercilessly. Only Tang continued to listen to the conversation on the radio without being affected. Wait. Don't leave in a hurry. Lauei anxiously grabbed the host who wanted to escape and explained, let me make it clear in advance that this is not a promotion. I didn't take their money. I cursed Raymond's shit song the most, so don't leave, listen to me finish. Okay, I admit that I'm a little scared. After all, I don't want to be threatened with bullets again. The host said in a timid tone, and electronic laughter was immediately heard. When I received the album the day before yesterday, I wanted to throw it into the trash can, but you know what? This beast, Raymond, actually wrote a letter in his own handwriting. Damn, when did hip-hop singers become so cultured? What did he write? It was very short. Let me read it to you. Lauei took out a card and said to the microphone, first of all, this is my last song. Secondly, I want to tell everyone that black people are not just about gangs and showing off their wealth. I am a child of the streets. Everything I have originated from my family and the neighborhood. It is like my father. Although I fight, steal, often make my mother sad, and the songs I sing are not in line with the market trend, I really like music and have changed. I don't expect everyone's understanding, but I hope everyone can give me a chance. I want to use this song to prove that I have not forgotten the streets that raised me and that I have changed my face. After reading it, Lauei sighed, just like he said, I am also a child of the streets, so I understand this kid. It sounds really sincere. You really wrote a letter. Dama looked incredulous. Nonsense. Raymond exhaled through his nose, but most of it was Tang's idea. I see. Zioba suddenly realized, and listened to Lauei on the radio continuing to praise. Right, then I listened to the song, and guess what? It was amazing. Both the shooting of the MV and the rhythm of the song are awesome. I've already climaxed, It's obviously the same person. How could he sing two songs with completely different feelings? Really, it's awesome. The host obviously didn't believe it. Really? Are you sure you're not lying to me? Of course. Lauei raised his voice. Then let's listen to it. If the first line of lyrics doesn't sound good, I'll cut it out. Don't worry, you will feel the absolute contrast. This time, the beast Raymond becomes the lyrical Raymond, a complete makeover. After that, the music started, and all the people who listened to the radio station immediately felt the difference from the slow and gentle rhythm. The people in the car also quieted down with this song. Only Tang smiled while listening to the music, and the effect was very good. The essence of this set of rhetoric can be summed up in 2 words, selling misery. But I believe those listeners will forgive Raymond. After all, this is America's favorite drama, isn't it? The bad boy redeems himself. What an inspirational plot. This is still the inspiration Tang drew from various Weibo essays in later generations, guiding professionalism into emotional output, and using some seemingly correct words to cover up the mistakes made by Raymond. Moreover, Robert Downey Jr.'s self-redemption is the most politically correct one now. After so many years of movie baptism, everyone can empathize. Even if you don't catch a cold, as long as you give Raymond a chance to listen, it's completely enough. Chapter 29 Airborne 50. When the promotion of Makeover was in full swing, all the major agencies were watching the MV of this song. The reason why they noticed it was not because of the song itself, but because of the rivalry between Republic Records and SBK Records. Each agency took the opportunity to learn about this song with a gloating mentality. It's really cool. After the meeting, Warner Records president Joel J. and other senior executives watched the entire MV of the song in their free time, and then sat at the table to talk about it. Isn't Tori Amos planning to release a new album recently? Can we also use this shooting style? It's very novel and eye-catching. Yes, it's really eye-catching, but I think the impact covers up the characteristics of the song itself, which doesn't quite fit Tori's temperament. Medjev, the head of the publicity department, shrugged, and it's not easy to find this type of director. Don't we have a director who can shoot this kind of MV? I think it's not difficult in terms of form. Joel frowned. Medjev nodded, it's not difficult in form, but the colors are not easy to match. If we use the same colors as him, it will be considered a poor imitation. Okay, forget what I said. Keep an eye out for directors who can shoot this kind of MV in the future. I think young people in the new era should like it more. In addition to major record companies, there are many passers-by who spontaneously discuss and recommend this song to others. Of course, it's not because of the song itself, but the bold colors of the MV and album cover, which make them feel that this song seems to have a certain collection value. So many players who focus on record collections directly rushed into the vinyl store and snapped up the song makeover. As a result, the price of its vinyl increased several times in a short time, becoming a hot collection. And a large number of letters from buyers were sent to Republic Records, asking them to reprint it quickly. However, even though the song's reputation is in good condition among fans, there are still voices of opposition. Brooklyn DJ Deathstroke clearly stated that he would boycott singers like Raymond. Do you want to redeem the bad reputation of the first song by selling misery? And he sang it softly, like a woman. He even gave Raymond a name like Ray Girl, which made Davis so angry that he almost went to fight him with a gun, but Raymond stopped him. However, Batman and Giorgio knew that this was all a trick of SBK. Although the major radio stations nominally expressed neutrality, they all had their own partners behind the scenes. SBK has many black rappers under its management. At the suggestion of the top management, they quickly stood up to question Raymond's songs, from the weak singing voice to the effeminate style of the music. Some people also said that the MV was shot like light pollution and that it was not manly at all. But even if they said it again, they couldn't stop the audience from voting with their feet. Singles were sold quickly, and the TVs behind the glass of major audio-visual stores played Raymond's makeover MV all day long. Republic Records also put up a huge poster of the album cover on the Plaza building. The mysterious blue easily captured a large number of passers-by and became a hot word in New York news that day. For the first time, everyone knew that color was so important to an album. The number of requests for this song on major radio stations has also increased sharply, and it is almost ranked in the top 3 of the week. However, SBK and other records will certainly not be unresponsive. In addition to the radio station's verbal attacks, SBK also deliberately let several black singers under its brand release singles at the same time to divert Raymond's sales. It must be said that this trick is very effective. The rapid rise of makeover has slowed down a little. But Republic Records has also started to spend a lot of money, determined to copy the popularity of this song. But this has nothing to do with Tang and the others. He is standing at the door of Fish Music Company at this time. After handing Slow a box of cigarettes and chatting for a few words, he walked along the corridor to Batman's office. Today is the update day of the Billboard, and they are waiting for the latest ranking to be announced in the evening. Several people chatted and waited. When the Billboard ranking was released, they were surprised to find that Raymond's song had dropped directly to the 50th place. Wow! 50th. Raymond jumped up from the sofa happily. He has seen his dream of becoming a star waving to him, and the red carpet has even been laid out at his feet. Batman also breathed a sigh of relief, very happy. This means that he made the right bet, and the cooperation with Republic Records has achieved a win-win situation. Raymond will become the signboard of Fish Music Company. Raymond, starting from tomorrow, we will go on a tour across the United States. In order to cooperate with the promotion of Republic Records, Raymond and his band will go on a tour in major cities together, and Batman will naturally follow the whole process. No problem. Bring Davis, Barley, and Zaya Obey. I'm going to be famous. After Raymond finished speaking, he looked at Tangda. Brother, will you go with me? Forget it, I have other work. Tangda smiled and refused. Not to mention the subsequent advertising competition, he is not a member of Raymond's team. In black culture, if one person succeeds, everyone will rise to heaven. As the boss, Raymond needs to enjoy life with other brothers. But Tangda is not among them, and he doesn't want to be one of them. Although Batman felt that it was a waste of money to bring so many irrelevant people, he knew that he could not persuade Raymond, so he simply kept silent and took out a wooden box from the drawer and opened it carefully. Tangda and Raymond immediately saw a row of Cuban cigars in it. Each cigar was thick and large, and it was obvious that they were selected fine cigars. This is my treasure, be careful. Batman picked up a cigar and handed it to Raymond, and then picked up another one and handed it to Tangda. Tangda is not unable to smoke, he just has no interest in ordinary cigarettes. Now that he has cigars, he can naturally try them. However, after Batman picked up the cigar pliers, he did not rush to cut them for the 3 people, but asked seriously, Have you ever smoked cigars? Not the kind of quick smoking that pretends to be heroic, but really tasting the aroma of cigars. No. Tang just shook his head. He didn't have much contact with this aspect. Raymond also shook his head. You know me, Batman, I am more impatient. Well, I regret taking it out a little. Obviously, this box of cigars is his treasure. If he was not in a good mood, he would not be willing to take it out. But now that it was handed over to the two of them, he could only teach them, then do as I say. First, smell the cigar, then use the cigar pliers to cut off the head. Don't cut it flat. The simplest and safest way for novices like you is to cut it diagonally. Tang smelled it as he said, and smelled the smell of milk and coffee, which was very intoxicating. After feeling the aroma for a while, he cut off the cigar head. Then Batman continued, secondly, after I light it for you, remember, don't smoke it directly. First, blow on the cigar head like me, and take the first puff after seeing the flame inside. And each puff after that should be about 30 seconds apart. Do you understand? Batman was like a cigar teacher, and Tang and Raymond nodded. After a pause, Batman continued, also, don't inhale the cigar into your lungs when you smoke it, especially Raymond. Take a big puff, exhale a big puff, and then feel the aroma and taste of the cigar. Only in this way can you taste its beauty. Tang picked up the cigar in his hand. This cigar was very large. He knew that the larger the size, the more suitable it was for beginners, because the first puff was relatively light, and the aroma would gradually rise with a burning temperature. He placed the cigar on the tip of the flame and burned it, then slowly rotated it. With the naked eye, he could see that the head of the cigar had turned black, with a circle of grayish-white on the edge, and a circle of burning flames on the inside, with a little green smoke coming out. Now is the best time to smoke a cigar. Tang picked up the cigar and took a big puff. The faint aroma immediately filled his mouth, and then he exhaled forcefully, and the smoke rose in the room. Huh? He lay on the chair. This feeling was so fucking comfortable. Chapter 30, A Great Victory. The fermentation of makeover is still going on. Nylon Music magazine has reviews of new music every week, but compared to the previous focus on the songs, this time they collectively began to study the MV and just mentioned the songs. If I were to say what is the most outstanding part of this song, it must be this MV. The melancholy blue color matches the style of the song very well. And the content is also interesting. What does it mean to kill yourself? It means that the present self kills the past self, which is equivalent to being reborn, or makeover, which also matches the meaning of the song itself. Although the lyrics are still a bit cliché, it is better than those singers who are obsessed with cars, women and money. However, it should be pointed out that the drum beats of this song are not compatible with the accompaniment. If the drum beats are reduced, it may sound better. This is the comment of the chief music critic Blackjack, and in addition to him, other music critics have expressed their opinions. For example, Tony, a music critic known for his sharp and harsh voice. In my opinion, there is not much to say about this song itself. The style is old-fashioned and the voice is ordinary. When I saw the big guy singing in the MV, I didn't feel gentle at all, but a kind of artificial and petty air. But I have to say that the MV of this song is very well shot, using a lot of metaphors. At the beginning, Raymond, who is wearing a suit, was suffocated to death by the killer who covered him with a plastic bag. In fact, it represents that the boastful Raymond had his voice strangled, and then the killer in a black jacket represents Raymond himself who has regained his original intention. And he picked up the pink cross and smashed everything. It also has the same symbolic meaning, destroying all those fancy things, just like what he sang in the lyrics. In a sense, it represents that Raymond has returned to the streets and is no longer suspended. In addition, the album cover is the same, black jacket, gold necklace. Maybe this is Raymond's own preference? Or is it the design of the MV director? Anyway, it echoes, and I like this idea. But I still have to say that if there was no MV, I would not listen to this song, that's it. In addition to the long reviews, there are many short reviews and readers' comments on the songs. Tang saw a lot of them when he was flipping through magazines and newspapers. Extreme colors. This MV amazed me. It's much better than those black and white hip-hop MVs. Interesting, the album cover is also very collectible. I didn't expect that each song is in a different color combination. To be honest, I'm not interested in the songs, I just want to collect the covers. It's like the classic work of pop art, Marilyn Monroe. I love this color. Can I ask who the director of this MV is? Does he have any other works? Look, Tangda, people are starting to ask your name. Jimmy was also sitting on the sofa in his house at this time. The magazines and newspapers placed in front of the two people were all brought by him. Tangda smiled. It's a pity that I only have this one work now. But there will definitely be more awesome works in the future. Jimmy believes in his good brother's ability. Just as the two were chatting, a phone call suddenly came in. Tangda answered and found that it was Raymond. Hey bro. The ranking has risen again. My god, it's up to 39th place. I can't believe it. Really? Thank you brother. Raymond's excitement can be heard from his voice. This is what I should do. Are you free tonight? I'm performing at the Wild Night Bar. Do you want to come and watch? Let's drink together. We won't leave until we're drunk. Tangda looked at Jimmy. Okay, no problem, I'll bring Jimmy with me then. Jimmy, no problem. Together. Wow. Cool. After hanging up the phone, Tangda looked at Jimmy and shrugged. It seems that Raymond is going to treat us to drink. Jimmy straightened his back. Great, just go. He was about to hug Tangda's shoulders but was interrupted by the phone. Tangda picked up the phone and it was a call from Giorgio. Tangda, a big victory. What? Tangda didn't understand. Giorgio explained, Edmund, that arrogant guy is in trouble, because his wrong strategy caused SBK to lose a lot of money, and now the top executives have impeached him and he has been demoted. Demoted? Did he resign? Resigning may be impossible, after all, he is also a veteran employee of SBK, and he has faction support behind him. To be honest, if he hadn't insisted on mobilizing SBK's resources to stop Raymond's new song this time, he wouldn't have given people the opportunity to attack him. Tangda raised the corner of his mouth. The arrogant are always hurt by their arrogance, aren't they? Yes, you're right, the arrogant are always hurt by their arrogance. Giorgio pondered the meaning of this sentence and continued, by the way, there's more than just this one thing I'm looking for you for. More importantly, I've communicated with CAA, and as you said, they have already started an internal evaluation. But I think they should give you a price that satisfies you. Tangda did not go through Apolline's channel, but went through Giorgio's, because the two had a relationship of interest but no conflict, which was more reliable. Thank you. No need to thank me, you deserve it. After talking to Giorgio, Tangda took Jimmy to the Wild Night Bar and watched a performance by Raymond. But to be honest, without the blessing of the MV, the song seemed a little weak and powerless, and it was really difficult to mobilize the atmosphere on the scene, forcing Raymond to directly shout another song Beast Star to warm up the place. After singing, Raymond came to the box with a large sum of US dollars. He first gave some to his younger brother and brothers, and then handed Tangda a few $100s. Tangda gave a portion to Jimmy. Brothers, get excited. I'll pay for today. Raymond drank a lot of wine, and he looked particularly high-spirited under the shining lights. He no longer looked like he was dejected because of the failure of the song. Then he clapped his hands again, and immediately several girls came in from the door and sat next to them. The noise lasted all night, and even Tangda was a little drunk. When he was carried by the girl to the toilet, she squatted down and attacked him without him noticing. Hiss. Tangda gasped. Then he stood facing the toilet for a long time, and finally waited for the girl to get up before he relieved his urge to urinate. When he woke up in the box the next day, he found that there were several more notes on his body and a lot of lipstick marks on his face. Tangda washed his face in front of the sink and washed off the lipstick. He felt that the discomfort he had been squeezing for a while was completely released. He looked at his phone again, and Scarlett's text message was still on that night in Los Angeles. I will take you down sooner or later. Tangda whistled, wet his hands, smoothed his hair, and then walked out of the bar along the corridor. Chapter 31 Package Services. Raymond and Batman have already boarded a plane to promote makeover in other cities. Tangda's life has finally become a little calmer. Without the noise and unfriendly eyes that can be seen everywhere in the black neighborhood, walking in the white neighborhood seems a little more relaxed. Tangda's plan today is simple, to go to New York Underground Art Magazine to resign. He is not short of job opportunities now, but he is starting to lack time. But when he arrived at the magazine, he found that something was wrong. The staff looked at him in a strange way, a kind of gloating with sympathy. Hey, Tangda, you are here. Hawk, the editor-in-chief of the magazine, was wearing a green shirt and a red baseball cap on his head. He stood straight in front of the studio like a human-shaped sign. When he saw Tangda, He immediately greeted him warmly. "Hawk, what's wrong?" Tangda was a little puzzled. This was not Hawk's character. Usually, when he wanted to find him, he would let others call him. Hawk nodded, took the initiative to put his arm around Tangda's shoulders and walked with him while saying, "The magazine has been selling like crazy recently. We plan to issue additional issues. This is a good thing." Tangda nodded. "So Tangda, you will shoot some inner pages next?" Hawk spoke hesitantly. "What do you mean?" "Hawk, just say it." Tangda didn't want to listen to his beating around the bush. Hawk took a deep breath. "Okay, this is it, Tangda. Lisa has been accusing you of verbal violence against her during this period, which makes her very frustrated and embarrassed. She said that she might not be able to meet your requirements, and she would be very nervous every time she faced your camera, so I plan to let you shoot for other models." Tangda frowned. "So I will no longer be responsible for the cover shooting, right?" "Yes, this is the decision for the time being." Hawk patted his shoulder. "But I will give you the bonus during this period without any difference, don't worry." "Don't worry?" "Magazines charge according to the importance of the pages, and the price of the cover and the inside pages are different." "Forget it, Hawk." Tangda was about to say that he would resign when he heard the sound of high heels from the other side. And then a sarcastic voice sounded. "Oh? Why is Tangda still here, Hawk? Didn't I say I would change the photographer?" It was the female model Lisa. There was a little pride in her tone, which made people feel uncomfortable. Tangda turned his eyes and couldn't help but tusk when he found that she was wearing a purple polka dot skirt with a purple loca top. Then he looked Lisa up and down again, wondering, "Are you trying to shock me by making a fool of yourself?" "What?" Lisa was stunned for a moment. She didn't expect Tangda to be so impolite. "Of course it's ugly, just like a big purple toad croaking in front of me." Tangda shrugged. "Tangda, how can you be so mean?" Hawk's face was a little embarrassed. "I know you are angry." "No, in fact, I am not angry at all." Tangda said nonchalantly, "I came here today to resign, Hawk. I quit." "Are you kidding?" Hawk was shocked. Although he did not like Tangda's attitude towards Lisa, Tangda's professional ability was strong and he was the person the magazine needed. "No kidding, remember to pay me my bonus, and leave." Tangda was too lazy to pay attention to them, feeling that it was a waste of time to say more to them. After Tangda left, the two gradually came back to their senses. Lisa hugged her arms angrily. "I am so angry, Toad. He has no vision." Lisa looked at her chest, and a large piece of Snow White was being tightened in her clothes. Although Hawk was regretful, since the matter was done, he hardened his mouth. "I don't care, dear, sales will prove everything." Humph. Lisa turned around and walked towards the studio in her high heels. After Tangda left the magazine, he drove straight to CAA. He didn't care about Hawk and Lisa at all. He had something important to do today, which was to negotiate with CAA. Today was the date when CAA's evaluation was over. On the phone, they invited Tangda to the company to discuss the specific contract. After arriving at CAA's own building, he met the agent Mike Siegel arranged for him by CAA under the guidance of the receptionist. He was white, male, with a hooked nose, and didn't look easy to get along with. But after seeing Tangda, he smiled and took the initiative to extend his hand. "I'm your agent, just call me Mike." "Hello." Tangda sat down. "Here is your contract, take a look first, I'll explain it to you later." "Can I take it away to show my lawyer first?" Lawyer Kirk suffers from sleep apnea and is currently undergoing treatment. Although it does not affect his daily work, it is not convenient to run around. "Of course." Mike spread his hands. "We can sign the contract after you are sure. But it's better to do it as soon as possible." Mike kept it a secret, because there is a good opportunity recently. "What opportunity?" Tangda's curiosity was aroused. Mike explained, "Do you know Destiny's Child?" "Of course I know Destiny's Child. They were very popular in the past 2 years." Tangda remembered this famous group clearly, not only because their song sales have topped the charts in the United States and the United Kingdom, but also because Beyoncé and Kelly Rowland came from this group. Sure enough, the opportunity Mike mentioned was related to Kelly Rowland. "That's right, but now they are in a semi-disbanded state. But Kelly and Nelly recently collaborated on a single and they are going to shoot a MV. Nelly, the black hip-hop singer, just won the American Music Award for the most popular rap hip-hop singer this year. He is very popular, and Raymond can't compare with him. And if I remember correctly, the song Kelly and Nelly collaborated on must be Dilemma." This is his childhood memory. It was popular all over the world back then, and his ears are calloused from listening to it. This song also won this year's Grammy Award, making Kelly Rowland famous overnight. This is definitely a great opportunity. Don't miss it. In addition to the MV, to be honest, the original MV is really boring. It is just a simple duet in a black neighborhood. Both the shots and the pictures are unremarkable. And this is exactly Tang's strength. But Mike continued, "It's a pity that you came too late. The director has been determined, so I can't help you get this position. You can only be a photographer." CAA defines Tang as two identities, a senior photographer and a MV director. This is conducive to Tang's access to different resources and will not let him be trapped in the identity of a photographer. Photographer is also fine, then I will finalize the contract tonight. Although Tang felt a little regretful, he had not completely given up in his heart. No matter what, he had to get this position first. That couldn't be better. I'd also like to tell you about the cooperation model. Mike opened the contract and said, "For our package service, we currently use a premium commission." Premium commission. Yes, we will set a basic price for you internally. This is mainly to facilitate our integration of resources to determine the cost, which is equivalent to your fixed salary. And the overall package price of the project is often a premium, do you understand? If the cost is $500,000 and the final package price is $1 million, then the $500,000 is a premium. And our commission rate is 10%. In other words, if there is a premium of $500,000, we will take $50,000 US. What about the others? The rest will be distributed according to the proportion of each person in the crew in the total cost. Of course, generally speaking, actors get the most. Tang raised his eyebrows when he heard this. This plan sounded really exciting. No wonder so many stars were willing to sign contracts with CAA. To put it bluntly, this was using internet thinking to provide traditional agent services. Except for the clients who were taken advantage of, everyone else lost. However, this model attracted a large number of practitioners and stars, causing CAA's bargaining power to rise sharply, and now it has occupied a large share of the market. Although other companies have also begun to adopt this approach, they are generally not as mature as CAA. After talking with Mike, he went to lawyer Kirk, and after confirming that there was no problem with the contract, Tang officially signed with CAA. Chapter 32 Successful Advertising. Soon it was time for Heinz's announcement. There was no difficulty in shooting the Heinz advertisement, because they only shot a picture of the Heinz ketchup bottle, and the production of the entire advertisement relied on computer technology. And they were very efficient. After determining the style of the billboard, they rented 300 billboards across the United States in just one day, and hung Tang's creativity. Heinz, the only ketchup. This slogan was even put on the cover of a magazine, occupying the front page, and Henry invited Tang to come to the company again after the company issued sales data. He was sitting on a soft leather sofa at this time. This sofa was different from ordinary ones. It had a delicate curved texture and felt very comfortable. The antelope skin carpet under their feet and the ivory hanging on the wall also made people feel the luxury of this office. Drink. Henry didn't seem to have any airs. He took out a bottle of wine from the ice bucket and asked Tang. Tang nodded and picked up the glass. The clear yellow wine was poured into the glass, and Henry poured himself another glass, and then clinked glasses with Tang. Really good. Tang took a sip, and the taste was quite mellow. This is Krug champagne. I also have a bottle of Princess Louis in my wine cabinet, but it's too expensive. I can't bear to drink it myself. Henry teased and took a sip. Tang raised his eyebrows and twitched his mouth. Damn, he remembered that the price of Krug champagne was about $20,000 US per bottle. And Princess Louis was a limited edition champagne that only sold 25 bottles this year. Is this the confidence of the rich? A bottle of wine can be equivalent to the annual income of many people. But Henry did not continue to show off. After drinking the wine, he picked up the sales data next to him and handed it to Tang. To be honest, I was a little surprised. Tang took the data, which was written in great detail. It was the sales volume of Heinz ketchup calculated on a daily basis. He looked carefully and found that since his billboards were all over the United States, the sales volume of Heinz ketchup had directly increased by 30%, and the data showed that it was getting higher and higher in the past few days. Obviously, his creativity has produced results, and very good results. Isn't it growing very fast? It's all thanks to your company's creativity. Henry smiled, his expression very happy. Tang said modestly, we just made the most appropriate creative strategy based on the product. Yes, the most appropriate. Henry clapped his hands, but I see that you don't seem to be the only advertising planner in Lion Company. You can't even determine the best plan. Oh. Tang shrugged and said, I'm a newcomer, there's nothing I can do. So are you interested in coming to me? Henry wrinkled his nose and squinted his eyes. We are in need of a planner like you. If you are willing to join, I am willing to open an advertising department for you. Now Heinz does not have its own advertising department. It has always been outsourced. After seeing the horrible benefits brought by Tang's advertising creativity, Henry thought why not take the advertising creativity into his own hands? Tang then understood why he contacted him alone and poured him a glass of wine, showing a respectful face, but it was just what he wanted. So he pretended to hesitate and thought for a while, and said, to be honest, Mr. Henry, I am very tempted. Henry nodded and motioned him to continue. But Apollyon was kind to me, and I have always been grateful to him. Henry raised his eyebrows and expressed more appreciation. You are a sentimental person. That's right. Tang took a big sip of wine, although Moroni, who was the first to propose the idea, may think that I am not very experienced, but I think that is only temporary. Henry pushed the bottle forward, and Tang immediately understood and picked it up to pour himself another glass. I don't think so. Henry spread his hands. Domino's, your first idea. Because of that billboard, it's now sold out. Their takeaway business even makes me jealous. The last thing needed in the advertising industry is qualifications. It's enough for you to have creativity, Tang. And I will give you the best platform to let your creativity appear in the United States and even the world, which is far more than what Lion Company can provide. So think about it, Tang. You can call my phone number at any time, as long as you want. Thank you. Tang already had a plan in his mind, but it's not the right time yet, and there's Henry, the sucker. Ahem, no, he is a rich man. Will there be a lack of investment in his new company? This is his real thought. Just like what he said to Jimmy, it is impossible to work as a part-time worker. If you want to make a name for yourself in America, you must become capital yourself. In his opinion, the advertising industry is a good entry point, just like MV, which is also a good entry point. By the way, you mentioned a new word before, user mind? It sounds interesting. Tell me about it. Henry quickly changed the subject after talking about work. After leaving Heinz, Tang took a taxi back to his home with a belly full of expensive champagne. Just as he was about to buy Carmela the magazine she needed, he suddenly saw a few middle-aged people discussing something around the booth. He looked closely and found that it was the new issue of New York Underground Art. The cover was the purple dress that Lisa was wearing. Why does it feel not as good-looking as before? One of the bearded men wondered. Another guy in a baseball cap took it and looked at it. It doesn't seem to have the same exciting feeling as before. Is it because of the change of clothes? But she exposed a lot. No, I think it's because of the change of photographers. This is not the same style at all. What I want is hazy beauty. If I want to see nudity, why don't I buy Playboy? Damn it, should we still buy it? Buy it, maybe the inside pages are the same level as before. Forget it, you buy it, I'm not interested, why not go and see other ones, this one is well shot. After chatting for a while, several guys who originally planned to buy magazines together chose other magazines. Only one insisted on his own opinion and bought New York. However, after paying, the guy tore off the plastic film on the spot, turned the page, and immediately wailed. Shit. What kind of shit is this? Let me see. The others gathered around him, their expressions were both gloating and regretful. Look at this butt. The position is wrong, she should lift it up a bit, my brother didn't even feel it. Yeah, the color combination is terrible, my mother's socks don't match like this. And the posture, why is it so stiff? Did the photographer fall asleep? Oh my god, so boring, luckily I didn't buy it. The brother who bought it wanted to cry but had no tears, with a venting mood. After seeing Tang coming over and picking up the new land, he immediately advised, don't touch him, my friend, this damn photographer took terrible pictures. If you have seen the previous issues, don't buy it, it's not at the same level at all. Okay, thank you for your advice. Tang smiled and expressed his gratitude. It doesn't matter. I just don't want this kind of crap to ruin other people's eyes. Chapter 33, Unlucky Hawk. Hawk was panicking now. It was a bright and clean office, but he didn't feel safe when he sat up. It was as if a cold wind was rushing up from under his feet, and it was as if an evil spirit was coming to claim his life, which made him shrink his neck involuntarily. He was holding a thin piece of paper with the sales of the past 3 days printed on it. He should have been happy, but his expression was as ugly as if he had eaten a mouthful of thick shit. Because the numbers on it were shocking, and the sales of the previous issue had plummeted by 40%. What kind of concept was this? It was equivalent to thousands of car accidents in New York in the past 2 days, accurately killing all the men who wanted to buy magazines. FXXK. FXXK. Hawk spit out a few dirty words loudly, his chest rose and fell rapidly, and then he collapsed on the thick boss chair like mud. His heart was pounding, and he was seeing stars. He even felt that he would go to the hospital in the next second. How could this be possible? He scratched his head and couldn't figure out what happened. Did they no longer like Lisa? How could it be? Ding-ling-ling. The phone on the table jumped up. Hawk reached out to pick it up, and the next moment he heard the anxious voice of his subordinates. Editor-in-Chief. We have received many calls from readers, all complaining that the quality of our magazine has dropped a lot. Wait, what exactly did they say? Hawk asked, straightening his crooked baseball cap. They said that what we took it was terrible anyway, and it didn't feel like the last issue at all. Someone else said that our aesthetics was too bad, and Lisa didn't match that dress at all. Someone else asked you if we changed the photographer, and felt that the style was completely inconsistent. In addition, they also said that Lisa's condition was not good, as if she had smoked too much leaves, and her expression looked so bad. Alright. Hawk's weak heart couldn't accept so many negative reviews, so he could only stop his subordinates' voices. Okay, I know, don't worry, tell them we will correct it in the next issue. After hanging up the phone, Hawk just breathed a sigh of relief, but a rude fat man rushed into the door directly. Hawk, look at what you have done. Boss. Hawk stood up immediately, but then faced the storm of words from the boss. In just 10 minutes, he received no less than 20 FXXKs, 15 SHXTs, and 36 gods. He was still in a daze when he walked out of the office. When the cold wind blew, he remembered that he had to go to Tang's house. Damn it. Why do you want me to persuade him to come back? Hawk complained, but his pace was uncontrollably quickened. For the sake of his own future, he should get Tang back as a photographer as soon as possible. He drove all the way, and it took only 25 minutes to reach Tang's doorstep instead of 40 minutes. Hawk looked at the window that had been lit, took a deep breath, stepped on the steps, and rang the doorbell. Ding dong. Who? Tang was chatting with his agent Mike, and suddenly heard the doorbell and was a little puzzled. He looked at the watch and it was already 6 o'clock in the evening. Could it be that Carmela had returned from the park with the 2 children? He opened the door and found that it was Hawk, the editor-in-chief of Newland. Why are you here? Hawk rushed in, walked into the living room with an awkward smile and said, I came to see you. See me? Tang frowned. Yes, hey, hello. I'm the editor-in-chief of New York Underground Art, Hawk. Hawk came in and found that there was already a serious-looking, well-dressed guest, so he hurriedly greeted him. Out of politeness, Mike had to respond, hello, I'm Tang's agent, Mike. Agent? What agent? Photographer's agent? Ha, you're really a joker. Hawk smiled and suddenly his expression changed, then he turned to look at Tang, and then looked at Mike with a serious expression. Wait, is it really an agent? He asked. Tang shrugged, of course, that's right. Mike also said, yes, Tang has signed an agency agreement with RCAA and will be responsible for directing Kelly Rowland's song, MV. Okay, Kelly Rowland, who is that? A third-tier singer? When will UCAA accept such orders? Then when I feel like making music one day, can I also find you? Hawk said in a funny way. However, the other 2 people didn't laugh at all. Well, if you have such a need, you can, as long as you pay the packaging fee. Believe me, CAA's packaging service is absolutely worth the money. At this point, Mike couldn't help but correct Hawk's statement. In addition, Kelly Rowland is not a third-tier singer, she is a member of Destiny's Child. Hearing Destiny's Child, Hawk was stunned. Of course he was familiar with this name, and he was also a fan. Although he only bought the album, He also knew the influence of Destiny's Child in the United States. That is a well-known and popular girl group. So, Tang wants to shoot a MV for Destiny's Child? How is this possible? Hawk's brain was a little out of order for a moment, and he looked at the two people again, and found that they were not joking at all. Then you still have time to shoot. I mean, the magazine now has a photographer position, are you free? Tang shook his head, picked up an orange and peeled it. Sorry, Hawk, I don't have time to shoot for the magazine now, just like I said before I left. Okay. Hawk came out of his shock, turned mechanically and walked towards the door, and turned back when he was about to open the door. Tang, will you be on the Grammy in the future? Tang laughed when he heard this. Maybe, if I go, I will notify you, and then you can see me on TV. Okay, be sure to notify me. Hawk pulled up the corner of his mouth, then opened the door and walked out. After his figure disappeared, Mike wondered, what is he here for? I don't know, maybe he wants to persuade me to go back? But why does he seem absent-minded? Forget it, let's talk about the shooting in 2 days. The director of this MV is Thorne. At the same time, Hawk outside the door was still eavesdropping on the conversation inside the house. When he heard the specific details of the MV shooting, he finally confirmed that this was not a crazy performance, but Tang was indeed no longer the same. Hawk walked down the stairs in a daze and suddenly received a call from Lisa. What should I do? Continue shooting, don't worry, the next episode will be better. What? My fault? You accused Tang of verbal violence against you. The shooting is not good? If your debut was not raised high, how could so many people give bad reviews? And why don't you say that your expression management is a mess? It's artificial and embarrassing. I'm crazy. I'm going to lose my fucking job. I don't care whether you live or die. Looking for Tang to save it? Get out. He has already shot a MV for Destiny's Child. Who do you think you are? Skyow. Chapter 34 Conflict of Ideas. A day later, Tang met the crew members in the CAA office. Director Tun, Assistant Director Jose, and set designer Brewer. Agent Mike was also among them, but his role was just to introduce everyone. This is photographer Tang, and now we need lighting engineer Wadden. After Mike introduced them, everyone else greeted Tang. Except for Director Tun, the bearded man leaned back in his chair and just looked up at him without saying a word. Tang didn't say much when he saw his demeanor. After shaking hands with the other two, he sat next to the assistant director. The next second, Tun said, let's get started, Tang. When Wadden comes, you can tell him the specific information. Is that okay? Although it was a question, there was no questioning tone in his voice. Tang looked at the others and found that they seemed to be used to it, so he didn't refute. Okay, let's get started. Thorne nodded to himself, and then threw a stack of papers to them. This is the storyboard for the MV, take a look, if there are any questions. Tang took it and took a quick look. It was very sloppy, with only some general scenes and pictures. The dynamics of the characters and the angle of the camera were simply omitted to emphasize the convenience. However, the filming of the MV itself is not difficult, or the role of the director is not very big, especially for rap. Unless it is an MV that emphasizes creativity and plot, the director's work is more like a nanny taking care of the front and back. But this is different from what Tang wants. What's the point of shooting an MV casually? He is not a person who wants to live a lazy life and wait for death. So he immediately started to ask about the content of the storyboard script. Director, I think it's a bit simple. Jose and Brule both nodded their chins lightly. This was also their idea. They only shot some scenes in the black neighborhood, with the two people sitting by the door singing duets, and then interspersed with some nighttime choruses to form the entire content of the MV. Even the scenes didn't change much. There was only one scene away from the neighborhood, but there was only one. For them, this kind of MV is too easy. They can shoot 3 in one day, which is really boring. But Thorne didn't seem to think so. He waved the storyboard in his hand. Simple? What are you talking about? Isn't this song about a mistress cheating? The woman moved to a new neighborhood and fell in love with a man. As a result, both of them have families, so they can only like each other secretly. That's all. The neighborhood is the best scene. Is there any problem? I've read your resume, Tang. You don't seem to have much experience. So you may have some deviations in your understanding of MV shooting. This is not making a movie. Remember. Tang shrugged, feeling ridiculous about his warning. But the meaning of the MV itself is to add color to the song. What's the point of just following the lyrics? What if the lyrics are about a person's daily shopping for vegetables? Do we have to shoot all the vegetables in the supermarket? How should we shoot it? Should we shoot the process of two people having sex? Just like European art films. You are making up excuses. We can give the MV more plot and watchability. Come on, can you become an artist by shooting music videos? Mike, what kind of photographer did you find for me? Does he really know how to shoot? Thorne questioned Mike directly. Mike didn't expect that the two of them would act like crazy when they met. He quickly stood up and waved his hands. Calm down, calm down. Then he said to Thorne, I think what Tang said makes sense. After all, the client paid us a lot of money for the packaging. We should do our best within our capabilities. Isn't that what we should do? Then he said to Tangda, since you think this MV is a bit simple, how do you think it can be made better looking? Tangda saw that the others turned their attention to him, so he took the opportunity to speak out his own ideas. I want to add a main line. What he wanted to add was the scene from Taylor Swift's song, I Don't Wanna Live Forever MV. Taylor's MVs are all very well shot, with a strong film texture and a sense of suspense. Any of them would be a dimensionality reduction attack if it were put on now, and it would be a fresh and exciting thing that the current audience has never seen. Just like the MV that Tang shot for Raymond, from color to lighting to plot, everything is for the song itself. At present, the shooting of many MVs is limited to dancing and duets, and at most a little plot is added, and there is no concept of integration of movie-level MVs. So what Tang proposed is undoubtedly very fresh to them. And now he wants to add the scene in Taylor's MV where a man and a woman sing to the camera while walking in the hotel corridor with the same dim background. Tang wants to use this scene as the main line, and constantly insert the memories of the two people in the singing process, such as the encounter in the neighborhood, and some interactions with hidden emotions. And then with the camera movement and color matching of the movie, the ambiguous atmosphere is highlighted. In this way, the audience will be more looking forward to the encounter between the two people in the hotel, and will have a sense of voyeurism of participating in the affair. As for whether the two people really meet in the same hotel at the end and collide with sparks, that is the suspense left by Tangda. If we use novels as an analogy, then Tun's original MV is a running account, which is straightforwardly advanced by date, without any extra imagination. And what Tangda filmed is a suspense novel, which uses suspense to stimulate the audience's interest at the beginning and does not solve this suspense until the end. After listening to Tangda's creativity, Mike tapped the table with a pen, and Jose and Brule were a little excited, because if they filmed in this way, their role would undoubtedly become greater. But Tun snorted coldly and said, it sounds good, but do you know how much money it costs to shoot like this? Budget. How much budget can an MV have? Are you going to convince those singers to throw money away on this? What a dream. There are ways to deal with low budgets. Living people will never be suffocated to death by urine. After Tangda finished speaking, everyone except Thorne laughed at his words. However, Thorne still went his own way. I won't shoot it according to this. The audience comes to listen to the songs and to see the singers. You have completely misunderstood the priorities. After speaking, he stood up and walked out the door, and at the same time said to Mike, either you convince him or let him go. Bang! The door was closed, and it was opened again the next second. Everyone looked and saw that it was the late lighting engineer Wadden. Did I miss something? Why did Thorne rush out with an angry face? He stood at the door with a confused look on his face. Tangda looked at Mike. What are you going to do? Mike sighed. Although I really want to support you, you have to know that Thorne is the designated director over there, and I. Okay, I'll go back and think about it. Tangda stood up and left the CAA building, standing on the side of the road, and picked up his mobile phone to make a call. Hello, Slow. It's me, Tangda. Well, can you help me with something? It's very simple, just don't let him. No problem, I'll wait. Tonight. Thanks, brother. Tangda hung up the phone and looked up at the top of the building. Since he couldn't have the final say, he could only let some people withdraw. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35. Hit from behind. At night, after drinking, Thorne was driving home. His home was on the outskirts of the Bronx, close to the sea, and the environment was very quiet. After avoiding the roads that were easily searched by the police, he finally arrived near his home safely. He turned off the car, took off the key and got out of the car, and he was still mumbling, "Bullshit creativity, shooting MVs, simple and efficient is the right way, do you think I'm right?" Obviously there was no one around him, but he kept talking to himself in the air. Obviously, Thorne was drunk. Just as he left the car door, a few black guys suddenly passed by, and heard his voice and mocked, "Look, a white drunkard, he was not arrested by the police? Do you want me to call 911 for you? FXXK, get out, black boy." Thorne waved his hand impatiently. His neighborhood was obviously a white neighborhood. Why are there black people? Damn it, next time I must let the guard watch carefully, and I can't let these black monkeys wander around so proudly. But just as he thought of this, he saw the faces of several black people suddenly turned ugly. What did he say just now? He just said nigger. Yes, I heard it, nigger. He discriminates against us. What nigger? I said black people. Even though he was drunk, Thorne knew that these two words should not be said casually, and hurriedly corrected. The leading black boy said angrily, "Look," he said it again, "he is discriminating against us. FXXK. Beat him. Brothers." Wait, I really didn't say nigger. Thorne was scared and wanted to run, but when he turned around, his foot was tripped by the curb and fell to the ground. Said it again. FXXK. Shit. You damn racist. Kill the racist. Damn white pig. The three black boys chased him and beat Thorne with a punch, making him cry for his parents. He wanted to resist, but someone stepped on his knee. With a crisp sound, the whole person howled. It's bad. Let's go. Go. One of them grabbed the leading black boy. Bah. You deserve it. Another person spat at him, and then they quickly got into a black car and left a block. Thorne was holding his leg and groaning in pain on the ground. The male owner of the neighboring house heard the noise and ran out of the house with a gun. However, there was no one around at this time, and there was no criminal. Only Thorne was shouting on the ground. "Thorne, hold on, I'll call an ambulance for you." The male neighbor kindly took out his mobile phone, but the next second Thorne grabbed his hand and begged, "No, don't call an ambulance. But you. Please, drive me to the hospital." The next day, Tang received a call from Mike. "Well, I don't know if this is good news or bad news, Tang." Mike on the phone was a little emotional. Thorne was beaten up yesterday. It was said that he was beaten up because of an argument with a black man, and then his leg was broken. Broken? What about MV? Tang asked. MV. Thorne definitely can't direct it. Now there is only one choice, and that is to let Jose take over. Is Jose okay? I mean about his ability. He's okay. He has directed MVs and is not a novice. But more may depend on you, Tang. Depend on me. Tang pretended to be surprised. I'm just a photographer. Come on, Tang, you're more than just a photographer. Don't worry, I will pay you more. How about dividing Thorne's share between you two? He can't get it anyway. In that case, I'll take it on. Although Tang's mouth corners were raised, his tone was quite helpless. After Mike finished talking to him about this matter, he suddenly asked again, "Tang, his hospitalization has nothing to do with you." "Well, it should have nothing to do with it." "What do you mean, Mike?" Tang frowned. "Just because I filmed a music video for black people, I can order black people to help me beat people up. No, that's not what I mean. I just think it's a coincidence. He just had an argument with you. You also attended the meeting. You should also know that with his character, it would be unexpected if he didn't get beaten up." "That's right. Okay, Tang, I'll leave it to you. Don't worry. I'll shoot it well." After hanging up the phone, Tang smiled and said to himself, "Mike is quite perceptive, but there is no evidence, right?" Finally kicked out the troublemaker, he could finally realize his idea. The last time he filmed Raymond's music video, because the budget was too small, he could only shoot some indoor scenes, which was not satisfying at all. And this time, he planned to do something big. Putting down the storyboard that he had already drawn, he received a call from Jose not long after. Jose said on the phone that he would help Tang to shoot the MV. If he needed anything or had any creative ideas, he could tell him. It seemed that he should have communicated with Mike, and he was very tactful to give the leading position to Tang. "This is better, so I don't have to worry about it." 3 days later, Tang, as a photographer and assistant director, met Nelly and Kelly Rowland at the shooting site of Kelly Rowland's MV. Kelly Rowland had a classic short red hair. Although her skin was dark, it was not swarthy. Instead, it was like healthy wheat, and she looked fresh and lively. Nelly wore a white loose t-shirt, a baseball cap worn backwards, and a silver necklace hanging around her neck that almost reached her waist. The two talked and laughed, and behind them were the agent and their good friends. They would guest star in the entire MV, and even Kelly's real mother was in it. This was also a way to save budget. Anyway, there were only a few shots in total. After they arrived at the crew, they entered the makeup car. Jose and Tang also came to the car with new storyboards and communicated with it too. Hey. Jose greeted them first, then handed the storyboard to the two of them. This is the new version of the MV storyboard. It's more creative than the previous one. You can take a look. Kelly nodded, took it and said with a smile, "Let me see." Oh, it seems that a lot of new shots have been added. That's right. As for Nelly, he didn't take it, and said directly, "No need to see, you just need to tell me what to do." Okay, let Tang talk to you. He is the deputy director and photographer. This is also his creativity. Jose pushed Tang to the front. He smiled and said, "I know everyone may think that MV is a very simple thing. Nelly, how long did it take you to shoot your previous MV?" Nelly thought for a while and tilted his head and said, 7 hours, what's wrong? Tang raised his eyebrows, our shooting time will be 3 times that. What? Nelly frowned, why does it take so long? I have other schedules. Kelly also became curious, is there any difficult picture? Of course. Seeing that they were interested, Tang said confidently, this is not an ordinary MV, and I never shoot simple MVs. So, let me talk about a picture. Nelly, you and Kelly, standing in the dark street, with street lights on both sides and burning vehicles behind you. The flames rising into the sky and the empty streets are like the inner portrayal of the two of you, a raging fire, but just lonely souls comforting each other. This is actually the scene of Beyoncé and Jay-Z in her MV. When this MV was released, countless fans were fascinated by it. After describing the scene, Tang asked, "Do you think this is cool?" Very cool. Kelly was the first to open her eyes and look at Nelly. This fits our song very well. Nelly also shook his head. Yeah, that's right, a burning car. Wow, it sounds cool enough. And we plan to continue this style throughout the song, not just a simple acquaintance or a duet, but to express the real emotions in the song, so that fans will watch it over and over again. At that time, the audio-visual stores will also keep your MV on loop. Do you think this will be good for sales? Of course. I can't wait just to hear it. Kelly stretched out her hand excitedly. Nelly also nodded in agreement, just shoot it like this, man. In the 24th year of Jianan, Liu Bei and Zhuge Liang conspired to lay out Jing Zhao, and a grand plan to seize the world centered on Guan Yu quietly unfolded. Zhuge Liang's adopted son Zhuge Qiao, at this time, received Zhuge Liang's secret order and sailed into Jiangling in the name of marrying Guan Yu's daughter Feng Ji. Young people work hard for their whole life, don't waste time and effort. This game is related to the success or failure of Zhuge Liang's Longzhong plan, and also to the fate of the entire Jihan people. The eternal Wu Hao, father and son are of the same mind. This is Zhuge Liang's destiny, and also Zhuge Qiao's destiny. Since I use my body as a chess piece, I should sacrifice my life to defeat heaven. Zhuge Qiao, the eldest son of the military advisor general, greets you all. Chapter 36, Increasing the Budget. The filming officially began. Tang sat behind the camera and gave instructions with a microphone. Lights, tilt up 20 degrees, I want their faces to be bathed in the sun. Makeup artist, fix Kelly's hair, it's messy. Nelly, pay attention to your clothes, don't make them wrinkled. In fact, Tang not only changed the picture and structure of the MV, but also changed Nelly's clothes. In the original version, he wore a white jersey, which made him look more like a sports boy on the block than a rapper. Standing next to Kelly Rowland was full of disobedience. But now he is dressed more maturely, with a black vest and a black shirt. Tang also changed the wide silver chain to a smaller style. With a classic LV pattern hat on his head, he looks much more handsome now. The scenes in the block were not many because Tang deleted them. The content of the filming was not difficult, just the first meeting of a man and a woman, looking at each other, and then sending text messages. But Tangda did not use the ordinary shooting method, but adopted a shooting method that is more in line with the film, such as one shot. When Nelly sang a love song to the window, the screen slowly moved away and the characters shrank a little bit, until they entered the window and continued to move away, and Kelly, who was hiding behind the wall and holding a mobile phone, was seen looking overjoyed. The whole scene was shot 3 times, and Tangda's angry voice echoed in the studio again. Left. Nelly, go left. Remember, you must take 2 steps to the left after the camera moves away. Kelly. Don't be so happy like a silly girl. You have a husband, you are both excited and entangled, and you have to keep it up when you tear your clothes. Jeff. Twice. Don't be slow anymore. The car should drive away as the camera moves away. The whole scene should be done in one go. If you are slow again, you will be gone. And you, Norda, the light should always be on Nelly's face. Look where it is now. Do you want the audience to focus on Nelly's brother? Tangda, as always, did not lower his voice even when facing Nelly and Kelly. He was like a lion showing his might, unscrupulously releasing his ferocious power. But no one dared to disobey him, because director Jose sat on the chair with a smile on his face, saying nothing, and completely following Tangda's opinion. Although Nelly and Kelly refuted several times, they stopped talking after seeing the video. Whether it was the arrangement of the picture or the expressiveness of the lens, they all felt the strength of Tangda, which was completely different from the ordinary MVs in the past. And the scenes that night highlighted Tangda's advanced aesthetics and ability. Nelly and Kelly stood in front of the burning vehicle. According to the conventional lighting techniques, they should be illuminated with white light to show normal skin color. But Tangda did the opposite, letting the whole street be illuminated by warm yellow lights, which complemented the flames behind them, and then embellished the faces of the 2 people with a little pink. These pinks were like the ambiguous atmosphere between the 2 people, and they also matched the emotions in the song. The 2 people kept dancing and singing in such a scene. Even if you look at it with your naked eyes, you can see the impact of this picture, so Nelly and Kelly are very satisfied. But when the shooting ended in the early morning, Tangda suddenly made a suggestion. Increase the budget. Nelly frowned, a little hesitant. Yes, Nelly, you can see that our standards are very high. And the scenes of the day after tomorrow are the most important, because they are the main line of the song, so if the scenery is not good enough, it will not match the current standards of our shooting. Tangda explained, and then Kelly said with a smile, Nelly, you are not reluctant to spend money. Shit, how could it be? I don't need this little money. Nelly immediately refuted after being provoked by the beauty, and turned around to call his agent. Increase the budget. Listen to me, CAA will give you whatever budget you want. This MV is very explosive. Believe me. He walked out while talking on the phone, and only Kelly and Tangda were left in the makeup car. She slowly walked in front of him. You are really great. This is the first time I have seen a creative photographer like you. Thank you for the compliment. This is also the first time I know that your voice is so charming. So you haven't heard my songs before. Kelly was very perceptive. Indeed. Tangda spread his hands. Well, it seems that I am not very famous yet. Kelly laughed heartily. Tangda waved his hand, but this song will definitely make your name known to everyone. How can you be more confident than me? Tangda smiled and did not answer. Kelly continued, anyway, I am more looking forward to it. A day later, CAA received Nelly's additional budget and immediately rented a high-end hotel as a filming location according to Tangda's instructions. A day later, the filming continued. This time the 2 people were filmed separately, one on the left and one on the right, in 2 corridors. Tangda and the camera sat on the slide rail, pulled by assistants, and filmed the clips of the 2 of them in one shot. Kelly. Look natural, don't get so caught up in the singing, just pretend you're having an affair with Nelly. You have to meet him. Touching the wall with your hands is like touching Nelly's chest muscles. Yes, that's the feeling. Although you have to look at the camera, don't stare at it all the time. You have to back off a little, just pretend Nelly is standing in front of you. No. That's not right. Kelly, do it again. Do it again. Kelly, remember this feeling with your brain. Yes. It's right this time. Let's continue shooting the next scene. Tangda kept guiding Kelly until her scenes were finished. Fortunately, she was very sincere, didn't put on airs, and was very cooperative. But things weren't going so well for Nelly. Nelly, don't be so arrogant. You're here to have an affair, not to perform. Stop holding that broken hat with your hands. You're not Michael Jackson. Is it the camera problem? Don't make excuses, Nelly, it's your problem. There's no point in glaring at me. Nelly, think about your album. Do you want it to be on the Grammy Awards stage? I don't care about your threats, Nelly. I'm only responsible for the MV. Even if you want to shoot me, you have to wait until the MV is finished. Do you understand? In the end, it was Kelly who kept comforting Nelly to calm him down and complete the filming. After the filming was over, Nelly said directly to Tang, I won't ask you to shoot an MV again, SHXT. You don't respect me at all. No, Nelly, go check the meaning of respect first. Tang said calmly, no one is special to me, everything is for the service of the work. This is my philosophy. Why do you do that? Nelly has never seen anyone more arrogant than a black hip-hop singer. Why? You will know, Nelly, in a short time. Chapter 37 songs are a hit. Kelly Rowland and Nelly's new song Dilemma was officially released. Compared with the various promotions of Raymond's songs by Republic Records, this new song has been played on many more radio stations and in various advertisements. After all, Kelly's background as Destiny's Child and Nelly's fame as a rap star meant that even without paying, major radio stations were willing to play it. And once it was played, the lyrical and catchy melody of this song immediately became popular all over the United States in a short period of time. A powerful combination. Kelly's voice and Nelly's voice are perfectly matched. The MV is also very textured. When I played the CD, I thought I was watching a musical movie. This is a short review given by Nal on Music Magazine. Below, there are many professional music critics who have made detailed comments on the song from the aspects of composition, arrangement, lyrics, etc. However, many of them mention the MV of the song. Blackjack, to be honest, I usually like to watch movies, and I know all the shots in the movies. But I didn't expect that music MVs could also use this shooting method. An MV contains flashbacks, interpolations, long shots and other shooting methods, and there is no sense of abruptness. In addition, many props in the song are not decorations. The burning vehicles, the lights in the hotel, and the last scene of the two people tearing their clothes are all showing the fiery emotions in each other's hearts. The director used various real scenes very well, giving the song more profound meaning. If I can give 85 points to the song itself, then I can give 95 points to the MV. Why is there a difference of 5 points? Because I still want to see a better MV from this director, and these 5 points are considered as room for improvement in the future. If you haven't heard this song yet, I would advise you to listen to it when you have time. But if you haven't watched the MV, then I suggest you put down what you are doing and watch it immediately. Compared with Blackjack's recommendation, music critic Tony is much more direct. Go watch it. This MV will definitely win the Grammy Award for Best MTV this year. Whether it's the two people singing in front of a burning car or the long shot that zooms out from Nelly's face, it's amazing. It makes me feel like it's a movie. I heard that this MV cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, so it has the effect of a movie-level MV. I have to say that Nelly is quite willing to spend money, but it would be even better if he could replace the cheap synthesizer sound effects in the song with real recordings. As for the rating? 10 points. Both the color grading and the camera are very friendly to my eyes. I like this. Guys, if you are going to release a new song, I suggest you learn from this MV, otherwise the music store on the street may not play other MVs. Since the magazine was released first this time, all the fans saw the comments of the music critics before buying the CD, which aroused their curiosity even more. What kind of MV would make the critics pay so much attention to it? What is a movie-level MV? So in Duvall's music store, several fans who were interested in the MV gathered early in the morning on the second day of the song's release and waited for him to play it. Duval, hurry up. Mirren, a regular customer, urged him. Hey, men, don't rush. Duval had sufficient supply this time, and with Nelly's fame, he didn't have to worry about losing money. He had also heard and watched the MV of this song in advance, so after putting in the new CD, he immediately stood behind everyone with an expectant look, ready to receive everyone's exclamations. As the music gradually sounded, the MV officially began. The black screen of the screen unfolded from the middle to the upper and lower sides. In the corridor of the hotel, Nelly, who looked very gentlemanly in a black vest and shirt, looked into the distance, waving his hands and rapping. When it came to the female part, Kelly walked in the same corridor. With only 2 shots, the audience's expectations had already risen. As the song continued, the MV quickly entered a state of memory. The audience watched Kelly and Nelly meet for the first time in the community. The two fell in love with each other at night, and Nelly sang to Kelly's window. Every shot was beautifully shot, and Kelly's every move made people feel moved. Although the lyrics said that neither of them was single, the people present felt that it was not surprising to be attracted to such a beautiful girl. Some people even thought of their past, when they accidentally met a girl they liked in the neighborhood. When the MV was halfway through, many people had already started stomping their feet to the music, and some with a strong sense of music had already sung along. The MV also entered a critical moment. After the song entered the chorus, a car suddenly caught fire in the picture, and Kelly and Nelly were also dancing in front of the car. The ambiguous posture and the pink and warm yellow lights immediately made all the audience in the music store wow. Great. This car is really suitable for the scene. Yes, it's really exciting. At the same time, they were looking forward to the last meeting between the two in the hotel. As a result, when the screen returned to the hotel, everyone found that the two people were split on the left and right, and they actually took off their clothes while walking. Watching Kelly tear off her skirt to reveal her sexy underwear, watching Nelly take off his shirt to reveal his chest muscles. Coupled with the eager expressions of the two people, the smell of hormones was about to overflow the screen, and everyone was about to climax. Hurry up. Someone urged, and someone else raised his hands and twisted his waist while dancing on the spot. Dival was not surprised by this, but his face was full of smiles, because he was also like this when he watched it yesterday. Obviously, this song is about mental infidelity, but whether it is the song or the MV, everyone feels more about love. Coupled with a melody like a dance music, people can't help but be fascinated. After listening to it, they also want to learn from Nelly and Kelly in the song and have a hearty spiritual love. Just when everyone had the same idea, the song gradually came to an end, and the two people who had been walking along the corridor in the hotel finally reached the end. But the next scene did not go into the room as everyone expected, but returned to the bright neighborhood. The two woke up in their own beds, as if everything was a dream, and as if nothing had happened. What? Why? Did they not do it? Several people shouted, but Dival did not respond, just looking at the screen. After the two came out of their respective rooms, they smiled at each other and then slowly approached each other. The final scene was frozen on the fingertips of the two touching each other. Wow. Great. That's how it should be. The audience, who were completely immersed in the plot, cheered and were happy for Kelly and Nelly. After calming down a little, they felt as if they had also experienced a spiritual love. It's great. Yes. So cool. Are you sure this is not a movie clip? I have to buy 2 more. Give them to my friends. I want some too. Quick. Duval. Take my money. Duval was grinning from ear to ear behind the counter. The feeling of counting money made him unable to stop. In this hot atmosphere, Miran, who was the first to get the album, looked at the staff list behind him. He found that he didn't seem to recognize the director's name. Jose Dog? Who is this? Please give me a monthly ticket, thank you. Chapter 38 Annual Picture. Soon after the song was released, after the Billboard changed its chart, Dilemma directly hit the 3rd place. This result excited everyone, whether it was Nelly's company or Kelly. They were all happy with this result, because the song was only released for 3 days last week. If nothing goes wrong in the new week, it will definitely take the 1st place on the Billboard chart. So Kelly brought her sister Beyoncé to Nelly's mansion that day. As soon as they opened the door, they heard the music coming from the living room, which was the song they collaborated on. Hey, Nelly, this is my friend, Beyoncé. Kelly introduced Beyoncé, who is also a member of Destiny's Child, to Nelly. Hello. Beautiful. Nelly looked up and down at Beyoncé. She was wearing a tight white sling and a jacket. Her long hair was scattered in front of her collarbone, and her thick lips looked very sexy. Hello. Beyoncé raised her hand to greet Nelly. The next moment, she suddenly saw a black man with a signature neat short hair coming out from behind Nelly. She couldn't help but exclaimed, Smith. Hello. It was Will Smith. He leaned against the doorframe with a gentle smile and waved. He had just finished filming Ali and was on vacation, so he came directly after receiving Nelly's invitation to the party. I'm surprised. I didn't expect you to come. Beyoncé and Kelly followed the two into the living room. Before I started acting, I was also a hip-hop singer and won a Grammy. Will Smith shrugged. Yes, I quite like your song. Kelly just finished speaking when she saw the 100-inch TV on the wall playing the MV of that song. Don't you dislike this MV? Kelly turned her head and looked at Nelly with a strange expression. After the live shooting, Nelly said more than once that he would never use Tang to shoot MVs again, no matter how good it was. And he also said many times that he didn't like anything Tang shot at all. Why is it so good now? Nelly coughed twice to cover up her embarrassment. This MV is not entirely his credit. The director. Kelly added, Jose, the director is Jose. Oh, Jose is the director. Tang is just a photographer, as long as I don't use him as a photographer next time. Kelly smiled and said meaningfully, do you really think Jose is the director? Beyoncé and Will Smith listened to the two people's riddles and looked confused. Wait, what director and photographer? Why don't I understand? Kelly pulled her to sit on the sofa and told everyone about Tang's performance during her shooting. He sounds like a tyrant. Beyoncé frowned. Cameron. Will Smith thought of this famous Hollywood tyrant director. In order to shoot a movie, he simply didn't treat the actors as human beings. When the actors questioned him, we are not beasts, he asked the photographer to do another take. But it should be said that the final effect and box office are always admirable. Yes, it's a tyrant like Cameron. Kelly shrugged. That's not a title that ordinary people can get. You guys are making me a little curious. Will Smith took the name seriously for the first time. You can watch the MV he shot. I think the idea is great. He gave us a big surprise. Nelly also shrugged and agreed. So several people rewatched the new song MV in the living room. After watching it, Will Smith nodded and said, I like his camera movement. The long shot from behind the street window is very good and very creative. I have only seen similar shots in movies. In fact, many photographers and directors can't even think of such shots. Yes, that's right. I admit that he is very creative. Do you know how many times this shot was shot? Seeing that Will Smith was surprised, Nelly couldn't help showing off. How many times? I think it must be no less than 7 times. This is really difficult. Will Smith guessed. I think 10 times. Beyoncé said her guess. But Kelly and Nelly laughed at the same time. No, it only took 3 shots. The first time he found the position, the second time he determined the movement trajectory, and the third time he succeeded. What? Damn, so amazing. Will Smith was surprised. Even a professional Hollywood photographer would not dare to say that such a long shot could pass in 2 shots. Wow. Beyoncé also opened her mouth and made a surprised sound, and then she continued, if you say so. Then when I release a new song, I really want him to help me shoot the MV. Maybe I should also release a new album. Will Smith joked. Nelly waved her hand and curled her lips. I advise you to think carefully. This guy curses more than my mother. Ha ha ha. Several people laughed at the same time, and then the doorbell rang, and their party friends arrived at the villa. On the other side, the American Billboard magazine also released a new issue of Inventory, called Annual Pictures in the first half of the year. It aims to inventory the classic MV scenes of various hot songs or niche songs. The songs it counted this time included Makeover and Dilemma. CAA agent Mike was reading a magazine in his office, but he didn't look at the rankings, but looked directly at the title to find Tang's work. He felt that Tang's work must be on the list, but for some reason, he didn't find it after reading 2 pages. Mike, puzzled, could only turn to the last page, and then his eyes widened in surprise. Because he found Tang's MV in the top 3 of the year. The third place for the picture of the year is the scene in Makeover where the singer kills himself. To be honest, this song is not amazing, and the ranking list has never been in the top 20. But if I say which MV I like most this year, it must be this one. Whether it is a large area of melancholy blue, or a pink cross, or the innovation of killing oneself, it all reflects the director's aesthetics far beyond ordinary people. More importantly, I heard that the album cover and the MV were made by the same person, which makes me think that the director may be an artist who has changed his career, otherwise he would not have such a subtle control of color. If you haven't seen this MV yet, I suggest you take a look. You will find that it is not just black and white or vulgar everyday colors, but also fantasy and magnificence. After reading this comment, Mike nodded and said to himself, it seems that I should ask the company to give him more resources. He focused his attention on the second place of the year. But this time it was not Tangda, but the MV of another singer. After a brief look, Mike turned the page and looked at the first place. Wow. Thorne, who had basically recovered from his leg injury in the hospital, was also in the bar, drinking and flipping through the half-yearly review of Billboard magazine. Bullshit, third place of the year. It can't be that they spent money. For some reason, Thorne subconsciously looked down on the third place. He felt that this color was just a trick, and it didn't show the characteristics of the MV at all. If I went to shoot Nelly's new song, maybe I could get third place. This list is getting worse every year. Do the judges really understand MVs? After a sneer, Thorne took a sip of wine and continued to flip through. The second place of the year was quickly skipped, and Thorne's eyes focused on the first place of the year. Puff. As a result, the wine that had just been in his mouth was sprayed out by him. Damn it. How could it be him? Thorne stared in anger. Because the first place of the year in front of him was Dilemma, which was the MV shot by Tang. The first place of the year. I gave it to the burning car in Dilemma. That picture was so impactful that it has been lingering in my mind. Whether it is various movie-level camera movements or color tones, it makes people feel that it is worth the money. Readers often say that they bought a movie for the price of a CD. It just has this kind of magic. Especially the annual picture, The Blazing Fire, not only creates a visual impact, but also expresses the true portrayal of the burning hearts of two people. I love this picture, and the editors of the magazine also love it, so we all agree that the most undisputed annual MV picture in the first half of the year is it. Bang! Thorne slammed the table hard, making a deafening sound, which scared the others. How is it possible? Why did Tang? His eyes were full of red bloodshot due to poor sleep, and he even looked a little scary, which scared the bartender so much that he called the police. This MV should have belonged to me. Damn it. It's all the fault of those damn niggers. The black people who were drinking quietly nearby looked at each other when they heard this. Immediately, several black men with unfriendly faces came to Thorne. What are you talking about? Get out. Thorne waved his hand, without even looking at the situation behind him, and just vented his anger. It's all Tang's fault. It's Jose's fault. It's all those niggers' fault. Damn it, I should have been the one shooting the MV. At this point, Thorne was about to pick up the wine glass, but someone interrupted the next moment. I don't know what you should shoot, but I think you should be beaten. Shit. Bang. Thorne was slapped to the ground, and then several black men surrounded him and beat him up. When the police arrived at the scene and controlled the situation, Thorne had already fainted. Call an ambulance. The police gave him an ambulance package worth several $1,000s without hesitation. I don't know if Thorne will regret his recklessness after he wakes up. If the chapter is not updated on time, it should be put in the small black room. It will be revised and published within 2 hours. Chapter 39, Dividing Gold with a Large Scale. After shooting the music video for Nelly, Tang started to be busy. In just 2 weeks, Mike accepted 2 more music video shooting jobs for him. It seems that this period is the blowout period of singers' new songs. However, since they are not famous singers, Tang chose to conserve his energy and did not take the lead like Nelly's new song. Meanwhile, Lion Advertising continued to shoot other advertisements, all of which were local food advertisements. It seemed that after the experience of Heinz and Domino's, everyone believed that Lion Advertising was better at food advertisements. Tang also got his own money during this period. Nelly's shooting fee, photographer and director's double salary totaled $20,000. Heinz advertisement cost $15,000, plus miscellaneous shooting fees and advertising creative fees. A total of $70,000 was received. Carmela prayed for a long time at home because of this. Even Louis and Regis received their gifts, an electronic piano and a drum set. The 2 little guys formed a band at home, disturbing Tang's ears. But he was also happy to see this family become lively, which was more comfortable than the stagnant water when they were in debt before. But this money is just a small amount, because the real big money is still to come. Raymond, Batman, Tang and Republic Records Vice President Giorgio sat on the large sofa in his office, talking about their trip to Los Angeles. You know, Tang, the bars in Los Angeles are bigger than those in New York, and the lights on those stages are more dazzling than those in New York. Even the girls dance more hotly. Raymond excitedly told Tang about his experience. They took the band to tour in Los Angeles, Chicago and other places, and made a lot of money while promoting. In Raymond's own words, he couldn't stop at all. There are also some hip-hop guys who come on stage to play freestyle with me. SHXT. Fortunately I have practiced it. Although Raymond's songs are average, he has been hanging out on the streets since he was a child, and he is quite familiar with improvisational rap. Before releasing an album, he often battled with others. In addition, this guy is big and has a loud voice. When he roars, he can make the ears of the other party buzz. He has won 3 points in momentum before he even opens his mouth. So even if some people wanted to embarrass him, they really couldn't get anything good out of it. Okay, Raymond, stop talking about this and listen to what Mr. Georgia has to say. Seeing that Raymond's big mouth was like an uncontrolled accelerator, Batman hurriedly stopped his desire to show off. Okay, Tangda, let's talk about it later when we go to drink. Raymond and Tangda bumped fists, and the gold chains on their bodies made bursts of noise. Tangda curled his lips. This guy has been wearing a lot of gold necklaces and gold rings since he came back, like a complete nouveau riche, plus all kinds of big-name logos on his body. This is because he is black. If he was white, he would be robbed and bald in a minute on the way back to his neighborhood. Seeing that everyone was quiet, Giorgio smiled and said, "First of all, congratulations to Raymond for his new song ranking 21st. Wow." Raymond cheered, and there was another sound of gold jewelry colliding. Secondly, Makeover has sold 500,000 copies, ranking 9th among all hip-hop albums in the United States this year. Raymond, maybe you can be in the top 5 by the end of this year. This sentence made Raymond even more excited, and he smiled like a 200-pound child. So after the sales are settled this time, we will also start to divide the money. First of all, the average price of the album is $8, so our total sales are $4 million. Of course, with the discounts that will be given in the future to sell goods, this average price will be further reduced. It will be around $6. Giorgio took out a stack of calculated sales documents and handed them to a few people. After they finished reading, he continued, "We will distribute according to everyone's respective proportions. And this is just the beginning, because the overseas sales have not been settled. And I have no doubt that this song can exceed 1 million and get platinum, so everyone can continue to look forward to it." Tangda calculated that Batman and Raymond would get 63%, which is $2.5 million US. Republic Records will get 33%, which is $1.32 million US. As for himself, 4% of the share, $160,000 US, is the most he has ever gained since he traveled through time. But Tangda was not satisfied, because this little money was not enough to make him feel safe, but this money could solve an urgent problem. That was the cost of establishing an advertising company. He had long wanted to stop living under someone else's roof. During this period, he often flirted with Hines and deliberately let Maroney see it several times, just to stir up his suspicion. Now Maroney has become increasingly unfriendly to Tangda, and even Apollon could not dissuade him. But this was exactly what he wanted, so when he arrived late for the new company's advertising creative meeting in the afternoon with a strong smell of alcohol, Maroney immediately sarcastically said, "Tangda, what's wrong? Did you go clubbing with your friends? You arrived so late. Or are you drinking champagne with the CEO of the Heinz Group again? Apollon, we don't have such a blessing." Tangda ignored the sour dog's speech, but greeted Jimmy and sat in his seat. Burp. He also burped, looking a little tipsy. Maroney was even more furious. "Look at you like this, how can you come up with any good advertising ideas? Apollon, I think you have to think carefully about whether you really want him to be responsible for it." Apollon, with her big belly, was also a little embarrassed. "Tangda, can you really do it?" "Of course I can, but I want to make a suggestion." Tangda spread his hands and said, "I think my current share ratio is actually not very reasonable. Because many advertising ideas come from me, I think Maroney seems to be more suitable for administrative work." Maroney was furious all of a sudden, and his green clothes made him look like a peacock with its tail spread out, a lot. "Tangda, stop kidding. We have taken 9 advertisements in total, and you are only responsible for 4. The rest are my ideas. Do you understand? But I am responsible for the most profitable ones, aren't I?" Tangda's words left him speechless. But then Maroney sneered, "So, you were promoted by Apollon, Tangda, people should know how to be grateful." Tangda also laughed, "I am very grateful to Apollon, so I have been helping the company make money, right? Look, you recently bought a new sports car, and Apollon recently bought a new yacht. What about Jimmy and I? It's only 20,000 US dollars in total. Isn't that enough to be grateful? So how much do you want? Apollyon asked. Tang closed his eyes and thought for a moment. I want 40%. You are fucking dreaming. Maroney stood up angrily. Chapter 40, Separation. Apollyon was also shocked by Tang's statement. 40% is too much, Tangda. Then how much do you think is appropriate? Tangda looked at the two with a half smile, and Jimmy also raised his eyebrows and watched. 15%, Tangda, you don't know, advertising companies have a lot of things to spend money on. For example, contacts, crew members, scene layout, and factory samples. Apollyon listed them one by one, but with each time he said one, Tangda's smile grew a little bigger. Apollyon, you can't do this, our profit is very thin. Maroney also agreed. I agree to 13% at most, no more. Maroney. Apollyon and him stared at each other, and finally Maroney gave in and said to Tangda, okay, at most 15%, no more. Forget it. Tangda clapped his hands and laughed. Since the company is so difficult, why don't I help you? I quit. Jimmy followed closely. I quit too. What? Apollyon and Maroney were shocked, but compared to Apollyon's completely unexpected shock, Maroney's shock was more artificial. Tangda. You have thought about it a long time ago, right? Isn't it? Maroney looked indignant. You just hold on to the thigh of the Heinz Group, right? I know Henry promised you benefits. But I tell you, if you leave the Lion, no one will be willing to give you shares. You can only get a dead salary. Maybe you are right. Tangda smiled, stood up, and walked out with Jimmy. Apollyon also stood up and shouted, Jimmy, I gave you the job. Are you going to leave me now? Jimmy turned around and apologized. Apollyon, you are a good brother, I will always support you. You can call me anytime when you need me. But these are two different things. Tangda is right, he is obviously very important, but he is not treated accordingly. This is unfair. Then what is fair? Do we work hard to create the company, maintain the operation of the company, and then hand over all the profits to Tangda to be fair? Maroney sneered and advised the somewhat entangled Apollyon, don't stop him, Apollyon, they have already discussed it, no matter how much you give him, he will not stay. This sentence is right. Tangda asked for more shares today, just to find a way out for Jimmy and himself. He knew that Maroney and Apollyon would not be willing to give up such a big piece of cake. Jimmy was also a little angry when he saw Maroney's look. It's because of you, Maroney. Do you think you can get all the customers? Just dream on your sports car. The two walked out of the Lion Company and got in the car, just like when they signed the contract, but in just 1 month, the two sides had parted ways. Tangda, is the new company really okay? Although Jimmy unconditionally supported Tangda in the conference room, he still had some doubts in private. Tangda leaned back in his chair and said, you know, Jimmy, many people have an illusion. What illusion? Jimmy looked puzzled. They always think that there is no threshold to words, and there is no threshold to creativity. Everyone can come up with a good idea, just like Maroney, he is a practitioner of this idea. So they often give me advice on my creativity. Tangda said with a hint of ridicule in his tone, but what is the fact? There are so many advertising companies. The companies that can truly stand at the top of the pyramid must be very professional and respect advertising creativity. The so-called reputation of Lion Company is just the moon in the water. Without creative support, it will soon be shattered. And they always have a petty spirit, as if they think it is no big deal if we leave the company, so they are unwilling to share the cake with us. Jimmy agreed, that's right, 15%? It's really misleading. So we have to have our own company, and we don't need too many employees. The crew will be outsourced, and you can solve this. I will take care of the advertising project. Okay, no problem. The two drove around to see the office space first, and soon found a 2-story building near the Bronx. It is located near a commercial street, with convenient transportation and a good environment. The rent is just a little more expensive than other places, but for Tangda, a perfectionist, he would rather rent a good place. He doesn't want to move around in the future. After deciding on the office location, Tangda entrusted lawyer Kirk to help him handle the company's affairs. After successfully setting up the company 3 days later, he named it Supreme Creativity. After that, he came to the office of Henry, CEO of Heinz Group, alone. Hey, Tangda, I postponed the meeting immediately after receiving your call. What's up? Do you have any ideas? Henry was wearing a dark blue striped suit today. Every time Tang came to see him, he was dressed differently, and it can be seen that he is indeed very rich. Of course, Henry, it's just that it may not be what you think. Tang smiled and sat on the sofa with him and explained, I had a falling out with Maroney. He said that I couldn't gain a foothold in the advertising industry, but I wanted to prove it to him. Maroney? Of course he's wrong. How could a creative genius like you not be able to gain a foothold in the advertising industry? Henry was surprised, and then he realized something. So you plan to start your own company? Am I right? Tang nodded. Supreme Creativity, my own company. In fact, during this period of interaction with Henry had long since changed from the original condescending solicitation to equal communication, because the advanced internet words in Tang's mouth made him feel that Tang was far from ordinary. After understanding the meaning of these words, he felt like he had found a treasure. So much so that he often used them in meetings after learning them. So now the senior executives of the Heinz Group basically say things like occupying the user's mind, improving granularity, using creative thinking, and forming a logical closed loop. If you don't say a few words when you speak, others will think you don't understand it all. Therefore, Henry now really hopes that Tang will join his company and become his capable assistant. But now Tang said that he had established a company, which made him feel regretful. However, a mature professional would not retreat because of a little trouble. He quickly proposed a new idea. Then Tang, do you need investment? I can invest $1 million in you on behalf of the Heinz Group. What do you think? Tang thought it was great. But he still pretended to be entangled on the surface. After all, it is impossible to make a deal if you rush to buy. Only when people beg can you take greater initiative. Don't worry, we won't take most of your shares. Henry knew his doubts and took the initiative to say, I am just very optimistic about your development. How about 20% and $1 million? Tang was relieved. He originally planned to imitate Facebook's shareholding ratio, with himself holding 65%, Jimmy 5%, and other investors holding 30%. Such a shareholding structure can ensure that he still retains absolute control over the company after listing. Therefore, the 20% proposed by Henry is just what he wants, and he can find more investors for future expansion. Henry, thank you for your generosity. After Tang agreed, Henry took out the champagne again. I am just investing in advance, Tang. Believe me, you will be happy about your investment today and the future. I hope so. Cheers. Cheers. Chapter 41, Boss Fez. Henry's promised $1 million was soon invested in Supreme Creative under the witness of lawyer Kirk and the Heinz Group's lawyer. When Tang shook hands with Henry and sent him out of the door of Supreme Creative, he saw Jimmy's feet floating. He couldn't help but tease, Jimmy, are you going to fly? Yes, fly. Jimmy imitated Michael Jackson's dance steps in a funny way, then screamed and said excitedly, Tang, you are so awesome. $1 million. We are going to be rich. So, what are you going to do? Tang asked in a slightly testing tone. Of course, buy a car first. Jimmy waved his hands, then decorate this company luxuriously and hire some pretty girls. With the remaining money, we can rent a large venue as a studio. Wow, so cool. But Tang poured cold water on him. No, Jimmy, remember one thing, never treat investors' money as your own money. What do you mean? Tang tapped the corner of the table with his fingers. Investors' money should be used on the company, not on ourselves. I have already made arrangements for the money. I plan to use $800,000 for advertising. Advertising. Jimmy couldn't believe it. Does it cost so much money? Of course, we want to make a name for ourselves in one go, even if we spend all the money, as long as major companies know about our company. $800,000 is already very little. Tang knows the importance of marketing and plans to borrow the publicity strategies of major companies in the internet era to use short and brainwashing advertisements to make a name for himself with supreme creativity. We will continuously display our company's advertisements on squares, office screens, and roadside billboards. Just one sentence, repeated 3 times. What slogan do you plan to use? Jimmy became curious when he heard this. Tang touched the stubble on his chin. Supreme Creativity, the top creative supplier in the United States. Not only the lines, but also the form of the advertisement must be concise and brainwashing. Tang initially thought of using a computer to produce it, plus real-life cutouts. It sounds really awesome, But doesn't it make people feel a little exaggerated? No, 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 this is a true description. Our company will focus on the creative production of the top companies in the industry, rather than playing small like a lion. Okay, that's all up to you. Tangda, you know me, I'm always entangled when I think of an idea. I can be entangled for a long time when choosing a dance partner. Don't worry, I'm here. Tangda shook the car keys. It's a pity that mobile phones have not yet been popularized by intelligence, otherwise it would be a killer to use the short video advertising set. But it's good this way. When I have sufficient capital to do these things, I will definitely get twice the result with half the effort. After talking about the advertising, Tangda found that Jimmy suddenly became quieter, a little depressed, and spoke a little sluggishly. After thinking for a while, he immediately understood his idea. So he said, as for the remaining 200,000 yuan of investment, Jimmy, you can help me spend it. First, buy a car within 100,000 yuan for the company. It should be low-key. Then spend tens of thousands of dollars on decoration. You don't need too many workstations, just buy more phones. Finally, hire 10 customer service staff. Customer service? Is it the kind of chicks with big breasts and sweet voices? Jimmy was excited when he heard this, as if a switch was touched. Tangda didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This guy was really controlled by his lower body, but he was right about one thing. That's right, the voice must be sweet, the sweeter the better, and it's best to be sweet to the point of being choking, sweet to the bones. Don't worry, leave everything to me, I'm good at this. That's it, I have something else to do, I'm leaving first. After explaining the company's affairs, Tangda drove to Feish Music Company. It was Silo who called him and said that Boss Feish wanted to meet him and needed him to do a simple favor. Feish, Tangda had heard this name countless times, whether from Batman or Raymond. It seemed that no matter who it was, they all said that he was a love-brained man who would risk his life for a woman. This was different from the impression of Tangda that those ruthless guys who regarded women as clothes. So he was always curious. However, this time he went to meet mainly because Silo helped him deal with a problem. Since he asked, he would always help him with a small favor. However, when he drove to Feish Music Company and followed Silo inside, he felt something was wrong. There were many black people wandering around the hall and corridors. They were either holding knives to trim their nails, or leaning against the wall to smoke and looking around with vigilant eyes. Some even stood in the corner with guns. It was the first time that Tangda saw such a complete range of gun models. His brows knitted tightly. This environment made him feel very insecure, just like walking in an area under military control in Myanmar. Is this the pomp of a black gang leader? It was beyond Tangda's imagination. Slow? He asked in a low voice, and when Slow turned around, he asked, what happened? Slow shrugged, don't worry, it has nothing to do with you. It's just that Boss Fei and his gang had a fight with the wild dogs. Wild dogs? Gangs in the south? Tangda suddenly remembered the police he met with Jimmy when he was driving that day. Damn, it turned out that Fei's gang was the participant in that gunfight. Soon, he met Boss Fei in Batman's office, but Batman and Raymond were not there at the moment, and the clean office was now filled with smoke. Even Batman's treasured Cuban cigars were held roughly in Fei's hands and smoked. Fortunately, they are now on tour in other cities, otherwise Batman would be heartbroken. But now there is no time to think about Batman. Tangda was pressed directly on the sofa by two black guys, looking directly at Fei. Faith was a bald man, big and strong, with tattoos all over his body. Tangda even saw the Chinese word on his head, fork niu. Fork niu? Fork steak? Oh no, it's niu cha. Damn, why did the tattoo artist tattoo it backwards? Tangda tried his best to suppress his overly jumpy thoughts. Fortunately, the boss Faith spoke up the next second and brought his thoughts back. Tangda, you are not white. No, Faith, I am mixed race, and my father is Chinese. Faith nodded, and his originally serious face relaxed a little. That's good, it's not those damn white pigs, I hate the smell of them. After a pause, Faith continued, I called you here because Raymond said that your photography skills are awesome, and I want to find you to do something. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42 Continue filming. What's the matter? Tangda was puzzled. Did he want to take some publicity photos for the gangsters and put them on the internet? That was too disrespectful to the FBI. Take some photos for my woman. Faith threw a magazine to Tangda. After Tangda picked it up, he found that it was T, a magazine affiliated with the New York Times, specializing in cutting-edge fashion content. Is it the cover of the magazine? Tangda looked at the black woman on the cover. Well, in his opinion, the photo was average. No, not the cover, but the inside pages, pages 36 to 37. My woman really wants to be on the magazine, so I spent a lot of money. But she thinks the photos in the magazine are too bad, like a pile of dog shit, so she asked you to come after hearing Raymond say you are awesome. I see. Tangda breathed a sigh of relief. What should I do, Faith? It's very simple, make my woman satisfied and make her famous. I want to make her famous. But just relying on 2 inside pages. Tangda looked at his face as if he was kidding. It's not even the cover, but 2 inside pages. Do you want to make someone famous? Why, you can't do it. Bang. Faith slammed the pistol heavily on the table. Damn it. Why do these black people have the same character, and have nothing else to do except threatening with guns? Tangda couldn't afford to offend them and could only stretch out his hands. Don't be like this, Fish. I have a good relationship with Raymond and Badman. Of course I will help you with this. That's right. Fish slowly stood up and stretched out his hand. Tangda immediately stepped forward and shook his hand and reminded him, but I still want to say one thing. What is it? Tangda blinked. I don't know if Raymond told you that I am a little impatient when dealing with works, so my tone may be heavier. But believe me, it's just for the work, in order to make her popular. Fish squeezed Tangda's hand hard. Of course, no problem. I only have 2 requirements, remember. Make her satisfied and make her popular. The rest is up to you. In addition, as long as you do a good job, I will give you a generous reward. Okay. When Tangda came out of Fish Music Company, the cold sweat on his back had soaked his shirt inside. When did the photographer become so dangerous? Tangda frowned and was a little speechless, wondering if he should find a bodyguard. After thinking about it carefully, even if there was a bodyguard, it was impossible to protect himself and fight his way out of this black neighborhood safely. That would be something that only a Superman could do. So he still had to stay away from danger. Tangda felt that people like Raymond would be time bombs sooner or later, and there was really no need for him, a law-abiding citizen, to get involved. After Boss Fish got this deal, he would definitely not come here easily in the future. A day later, in the room where Boss Fish's album cover was still taken, Boss Fish's woman appeared in front of Tangda. Yashila, a woman wearing a black leather jacket and triangular sunglasses, had shiny jewelry on her neck and diamond rings on her hands. She looked very rich. And Tangda also saw that she was brought here by an extended Lincoln. It can be said that Fish's appearance was far inferior to hers. But when she saw her, Fish smiled and seemed to enjoy her noble lady's dress very much. Afterwards, under the introduction of Fifi, Yashila raised her chin and slightly raised her eyes with her hands, looked at Tangda with the white of her eyes, and said without even stretching out her hand, "Hello." How arrogant. Tangda sneered in his heart and nodded, "Hello. Are you sure? I'm very strict." After Yashila and Fifi were bored, they walked to the scene arranged by Tangda, imitated the supermodels, stood with their legs apart, put their hands on their waists, and raised their chins. Tangda's mouth twitched, feeling that today's shooting didn't seem to go smoothly. Of course, as long as you listen to me. The idea of Tangda's shooting today came from the cover photo of the legendary black supermodel Naomi by the American fashion magazine V. This cover received a lot of praise, and its lighting technique was called the textbook for shooting black people in the photography industry. And Tangda not only used its lighting technique, but also added more eye-catching elements, such as a T-shaped purple light stick. After asking Ashura to take off her leather jacket, Tangda looked at her clothes and shook his head. "You have to take off your clothes and only keep your underwear. I have prepared a set for you." Ashura did not resist, but just picked up the underwear with 2 fingers with a little disdain and went to the next room to change. As soon as she came out, Faisi immediately drove the other brothers downstairs and only let a few capable assistants accompany him. Because Ashura was wearing a set of sexy black underwear, her chest was exposed, and there was not an inch of extra fabric. After being glared at by Faisi, Tangda, who had a stable psychological quality, commanded, "Lift up that T-shaped light stick." Yes, Hold it against your waist like a cane, and show your arrogance. After Ashura finished posing, Tang adjusted the light according to Ashura's height, so that the white light reflected on her forehead and legs as the highlight part of the picture. Because he would adjust this cover to black and white, he had to pay special attention to the highlights and dark parts. In addition to the light stick, the only color in this picture was this light stick. After finishing everything, Tang started shooting, but Yashalar was not cooperative and was very picky. Hey, why is it uneven here? Please clean it up. I don't think this pose is enough to show my temperament, let's change it. Oh, this light is so dazzling, can you turn it off? This stick is so weird, will it really not steal my limelight? Can you, shut up. Listen to me, okay? I will shoot you like a supermodel. Tangda couldn't help but scold him, but the next second, he saw the other brothers turn their cold eyes to him. Damn. This is simply hellish difficulty. But Tangda really couldn't accept Yashalaw's suggestion, so the two of them were in a stalemate. She didn't want to follow Tangda's ideas, and Tangda never did what she said. And Faith's stupid love brain was useless. In Yashalaw's coquettish voice, not only did he soften his waist but also his brain, pointing fingers at Tangda, and throwing the original agreement behind his mind. Tangda was so angry that he really wanted to take out his gun and shoot the couple. When this matter is over, I must practice shooting and buy a gun. Tangda had just made up his mind and planned to talk to Yashala again, but as soon as he raised his camera, he heard a sudden gunshot from downstairs. Bang bang. Tangda and Yashala were stunned for a moment, but Facey did not. Shit. Hide quickly. Lao K guard the window. Yashala protect yourself. Everyone else follow me. Facey did not hesitate at all, as if he had encountered similar scenes countless times, and rushed downstairs directly with a gun from his arms. Lao K heard the words and directly pressed against the window, holding a pistol in his right hand and another pistol on his waist. When Tangda came to his senses, he found that Yashala was terrified and was about to drop the light stick and flee to the bathroom for refuge. There was no other escape route in this room, and the only window was facing the street. But just before Yashala entered the bathroom, he was suddenly stopped by Tangda. Let me go. FXXK, what are you doing? Face won't let you go. Ashura thought Tangda was up to something and resisted fiercely. Old K also turned his head and looked over, with his gun ready at all times. However, what they never expected was that Tangda pushed Ashura back to the set and yelled, let them fight. You, keep filming. FXXK. What did you say? Are you crazy? Ashura was completely shocked. She looked at Tangda's calm and even somewhat terrifying expression, as if her throat was strangled. I said, you, stand here and pose honestly. I have a new inspiration. I want to take a picture of it, do you understand? They are having a gunfight. We will die if we stay here. Listen carefully, there is no escape from this room. Either they come up and kill me, or they come up and kill me after I finish filming. So listen to me. Keep filming. Chapter 43, A Ruthless Person. The bang-bang sounds outside were extremely intense. The click sounds inside the room were no less intense. At the same time, Tangda's unrestrained scolding was also accompanied. Don't be weak in your legs. Stand firm. Don't act like an 80-year-old with Alzheimer's disease. Don't you have any fucking bones? But push your butt back. Push your chest forward. Hold your knees with your hands. FXXK. Don't bend your body like a slug. Lie down. Look at the fat on your waist. It's almost enough to squeeze oil for a whole block. Shut up and don't cry. This is not your father's grave. Where's that arrogance just now? Use it. Don't act like a fucking pathetic bitch. Expression. Give me a horrified expression and raise the stick outward. It's like someone is shooting at you. Bang. Gunshots rang out outside the house at the right time. Yashura finally couldn't help but scream. She vented all the grievances in her heart. Yes. That's it. But Tangda filmed her fanatically and continued to direct her to film. Old K, who was standing next to him, looked at Facey, who was a great shooter downstairs, and then looked at Tangda, who was more powerful than his gun, and opened his mouth silently. There was a gunfight downstairs, man. Why are you so excited about art? Have you figured out the situation? Even if you are not afraid of the gang gunman downstairs, what if Facey, the boss, knows and wants to shoot you? Are all photographers so scary? Then wouldn't a war photographer have to shoot the enemy with an AK in one hand? If there is no battlefield, make it yourself, right? Old K, whose ears were filled with all kinds of FXXK and SHXT, felt for the first time that the vocabulary of swearing could be so rich, and he even wanted to learn it. When the gunfire downstairs gradually subsided, Facey took his brothers upstairs and planned to leave with Yashla. Suddenly, he found that his woman was sitting on a chair, with a look of despair on her face, as if she had been played. Tangda was looking at his own photos, excited about his creativity. Only Old K walked up to Facey and briefly explained the situation. Are you really not kidding? Facey thought that Tangda had a mental problem after hearing this. Who would not hide when encountering a gunfight, but would complete the shooting with great interest? And his attitude towards his woman was also unacceptable to Facey. He walked quickly to Tangda and was about to reach out and grab his lapel. But the next second, Tangda handed the camera to him. What? Facey was confused, looking at Tangda's confident expression, a little confused about the situation. Look at the photos. Facey took the camera speechlessly and looked at the photos of Yashla with the help of Tangda. However, the more he looked, the hotter he felt. His throat kept swallowing, and his saliva was a little insufficient. Because in Tangda's photos, Yashla was wearing underwear, exposing a large area of skin, squeezing her chest with her arms, showing temptation under the light. And she was lying on the ground holding the T-shaped light stick, with a pitiful expression on her face, as if she was a bullied little animal. Flipping down, Faith saw Yashla's terrified face and her tense resistance, as if she was fighting against a stranger who broke in. But she was sweating profusely, and looked particularly weak under the light. Just looking at these photos, Faith was already immersed in them, as if the person outside the picture was him. His breathing gradually became heavier, and he looked at Yashla, who was lying weakly on the chair, and swallowed his saliva. Tangda saw his thoughts, raised a mysterious smile on his face and said, Facey, what do you think of these photos? Great, great. After experiencing a tense gun battle, he just wanted to vent his desire. Then I'll leave first, and I'll let Luo give it to you after I process the photos. Tangda took back his camera and walked out of the room under the attention of his brothers. Okay. Faith nodded and ignored him. Lao K didn't expect Tangda to not be beaten. He just teased with other brothers how many punches Faith was going to give him. But now Faith didn't embarrass him at all. Old K looked at Faith and found that he was waving his hand to let others leave the room. Seeing him panting, everyone seemed to know what he wanted to do. So they retreated downstairs one by one, waiting for the boss to finish and leave at any time. Have one. Tangda stood beside Old K and asked for a cigarette for himself. After experiencing the threat of the gunfight, he now also needed to vent. Old K obediently handed the cigarette to him. Seeing Tangda lower his head, he took up the lighter and subconsciously wanted to light it for him, but was rejected by him. Use that. Tangda used his eyes to signal Old K to use the gun on his waist to light the fire, which made Old K a little confused. This. He raised his eyebrows, as if asking Tangda if he had really made up his mind. That's right. Old K took out a black pistol from his waist, slowly moved the muzzle of the gun in front of the cigarette while Tangda was waiting, and then pulled the trigger. Bang! A ball of fire immediately ignited from the muzzle of the gun with a simulated gunshot. It was obvious that this was not a real gun but a lighter. How do you know? Old K has always used this gun for show, and no one except a few good brothers in the gang knows about it. But Tangda did not answer, but just pulled the corners of his mouth with a fake smile, and then looked up at the passers-by who were fleeing in panic after the gunfight and the bloody corpses on the ground. His eyes were calm and indifferent, as if the gunfight had nothing to do with him, or he had no compassion for life at all. Even the battle-hardened Old K felt ashamed of his calm attitude. Not to mention that he even had the leisure to blow out a few smoke rings, letting them form and dissipate in the air. Old K swallowed his saliva, and felt a pressure from this cold-blooded guy that enveloped him tightly, making him dare not speak. Until Tangda put out the cigarette with his fingers and asked him, "Aren't you afraid that the police will come to arrest you?" "Afraid, but the police will usually arrive in 20 minutes. You know, this is a black neighborhood." Old K answered truthfully, watching the sporadic sparks burst and disappear at the tips of Tangda's fingers, and for some reason he became more nervous. The last person who put him under such great psychological pressure was the boss of the largest gang in the South District. He killed 3 people at the meeting that day without blinking an eye. "I understand." Tangda nodded, implying that the time for Face's sprint must be shorter than 20 minutes. Seeing that this was not the first time they had encountered such a situation, Tang did not continue to ask in detail. He put away his camera while smoking, waved goodbye to Lao Ke, and walked out of the door slowly, stepping over the blood. Lao Ke looked at the other gang brothers behind him and couldn't help but sighed, what a fucking ruthless person. But in a place where they couldn't see, Tang's legs had already weakened and leaned against the wall. He hid himself in the gap, and occasionally poked his head out to see if anyone was following him. He was afraid that a gunman would suddenly come and shoot him through the air in the next second. That was too worthless. FXXK. Shit. Goddamn black man. Tang cursed in a low voice for a few words before he eliminated the anger in his heart. He decided not to set foot in this dangerous place again. If Raymond and Batman wanted to find him, they had to stay in his own territory. After waiting for a while, Tang felt his legs regained consciousness, and quickly stood up again, then walked quickly to his car. He got in the car, started the engine, and drove away. The whole process was done in one go, not even half a minute was spent. Thanks to Bai Mashangsha and Yi Hiji for the reward. Chapter 44 Magazine exclamation. T Magazine is still very busy today. Dress, hurry up and get the layout done. I'm going to do a trial print. Give me the model's photo. I need to submit it for review. Damn it, how can there be a typo? Can you pay more attention when you write the manuscript? Sorry, Editor-in-Chief, I forgot to make a revision. Jelly looked at the mess in front of her and couldn't help but sighed, and then continued to work. As the editor-in-chief of a magazine, every time before the release of a new issue is the most difficult stage. After almost finishing the content in her hands, Jelly checked the new issue again, and found that there were actually 2 pages that had not been typeset with photos. Dress. Why is it blank here? Where are the photos? Where are the photos of the model? She couldn't help but lose her temper and yelled in front of her office. Dress hurriedly trotted over and whispered, Editor-in-Chief, it's a photo of Ashura. What's wrong with Ashura? Jelly's angry tone softened at the last few words. Well, this cost money, and it was the sponsor. Jelly couldn't be too harsh on the generous fee. Did they say her photos were ready? Why haven't they arrived yet? Yes, they've arrived. I just received them. They're at the fax machine, and they're printing them. Dress, that's good. Bring them here quickly. God, please don't make them too bad. However, just as she was praying, a cry of surprise suddenly came from the fax machine. What's wrong? Anjali stood up subconsciously. Could it be that the photos that Yashala took herself were too ugly? Then she couldn't joke with the reputation of the magazine. Fortunately, she had other photos of models that could be replaced. Dress quickly ran over for the editor-in-chief, and found that several editors were watching in front of the fax machine. What happened? He squeezed into the crowd, frowned and snatched the photo. What are you all doing here? Dress, who took this photo? Fashion editor Niles asked him curiously. Who took it? How do I know? Let me see. Dress picked up the photo and glanced at it, but the next second he was stunned as if he was frozen. Seeing that Dress had not come back and the crowd was growing, Anjali had no choice but to walk out of her desk and go behind the crowd. Make way. She shouted, but was drowned out by the wows of the crowd. Anjali's chest rose and fell, and she raised her voice, make way. When someone heard it, they hurriedly told others, the editor-in-chief is here. Everyone made way, and Anjali walked into the center step by step, and saw Dress was excitedly analyzing photos with Niles. What happened? Anjali was puzzled. It was just a photo, how could it have such a great magic to attract everyone? Editor-in-chief, come and see. Dress excitedly handed the photo to Anjali. I think this photo can even compete for the best of the year in our magazine. How is it possible? It's Ashura's. Anjali picked up the photo without much concern, but her eyes widened at the first sight. Is this really Ashura? She turned to look at Dress, and Dress nodded, of course. It's her. Anjali looked at the photo again after getting a positive answer. In the black and white photo, Ashura, wearing sexy underwear, lies on the ground, holding a T-shaped light stick that emits purple light, with a pitiful expression. In the shadow next to her, there is a darker shadow than black, holding a gun in his hand. The combination of movement and stillness makes people hold their breath, as if someone is really shooting at Ashura. In addition, the black and white layers make the photo more colorful. Because black and white photos lack color, They pay more attention to the progressive layers of black, white and gray. With the eyes of editor-in-chief Anjali, she immediately found that the focus of this photo is dark black, such as shadows and underwear, and the lighter layer is the skin, and then the background. So just looking at the photo makes people feel that it is rich in details, even enough to participate in an art photography exhibition. Not to mention the intention of this photo, the black skin, the shooting, the terrified expression and the unique body language, each of which is worth her careful appreciation. This is also the reason why the editors are gathered here. Generally speaking, a photo can become a classic photo if it has a good intention and color. This photo not only has a theme and color, but also has expressions and body language. Anjali looked at this photo and thought about the cover of the new magazine. She felt that the photo was not worthy of this one. Dress. What about the other one? She realized the value of this photo and immediately asked Dress to hand her the second photo. Sure enough, it was still a perfect performance, but this time Ashura adopted a rebellious attitude. Isn't this the best cover? Anjali raised the photo excitedly. Quick! Take down the original cover and replace it with this one. Ah! Editor-in-chief, do you really want to do this? But we have already agreed with Anne Hathaway. The cover of this issue is Anne Hathaway, who had just turned 20. Although she was not yet famous, she had some fame in the United States because of the broadcast of The Princess Diaries. Then move it to the next issue. Tell Anne that our computer is broken and the photos can't be exported. She will forgive us. Okay. Dress had no choice. Anjali was completely caught up in the craze for the new photos at this time, but this was normal. It is common for the fashion industry to do anything for a good cover. After all, the most important thing for anyone who buys a magazine is the cover, and a good cover can often overwhelm everything. Especially now that T magazine has just been published, if nothing unexpected happens, Anjali will ask him to find the photographer of this photo. Sure enough, after only 3 minutes of rest, Dress only heard Anjali's call again. After walking to her side, he immediately heard Anjali's powerful voice. I want to find this photographer and ask Yashala. I must let him join. At any cost. Okay, I'll go right away. Ling. Yashala, who was sitting on the sofa at home admiring her beautiful photos, answered the phone. Hello. Who is this? Dress, how is it? Is my photo okay? What? Cover. FXXK. Great. When she heard that the editor-in-chief decided to use her photo as the cover, Yashala didn't care about maintaining her ladylike state and excitedly cursed. Oh, I didn't say anything bad. I was just a little happy, just a little bit. Why did you decide to use my photo as the cover? Because the color processing is great? The pose and expression are harmonious? The concept is advanced. Every time Yashala repeated a sentence, she remembered the scene when she was abused and controlled by Tang, and she couldn't help but feel a little complicated. And when she heard Dress asked about the name of the photographer, this complicated mood reached its peak. Is he that important? Even the editor-in-chief invited him. With him, can T really be taken to the next level? Art photography, master level? Tangda. Okay, I'll ask for you. But I'm not sure if he would be willing. It's not that he joined another company, but, how should I put it? In fact, his job is to shoot MVs. Chapter 45 Customer Service Lady. Tangda received a call from the editor of T magazine, Dress, at a Supreme Creative Company. However, Tangda politely declined the invitation from him and the editor-in-chief, because he would never become a photographer for a magazine. He has already started working hard for his career. For example, the 10 beautiful girls in front of him were wearing light blue silk shirts on their upper bodies, dark blue short skirts and black stockings on their lower bodies. Their collars were all open to the second button, and they could see the snow-white scenery through their collars by bowing their heads slightly. Hello, boss. When they stood in front of Tangda in unison and bowed their heads to greet him under Jimmy's command, it was even more beautiful. Very good, Jimmy, you are really a talent. Tangda couldn't help but give a thumbs up and praised Jimmy, who was smiling. Okay, you go back to work. Jimmy nodded and signaled the customer service staff to go back to work. After they winked at Tangda, they answered in unison in a sweet voice, yes, manager. After they sat back in their seats, Tangda pulled Jimmy to his office. Where did you get so many girls? Jimmy smiled. Are they very good? Do they meet your requirements? Of course they do, very much so. I told you, Jimmy, you are a fucking genius. Tangda also laughed. And the two laughed at the same time for a while, and then continued chatting after the excitement disappeared. I found them from the set. I said we are going to set up an advertising company now, and we are in urgent need of actresses. Jimmy sat on the table and explained his operation to Tangda. Actress. Tangda narrowed his eyes. There must be more than that. Of course, I also showed them the MV you shot, saying that you are an awesome director who is now working on your own. Fortunately, your work is now #1 on the Billboard chart. They were very excited when they heard it and believed it immediately. Then I said that we plan to train our own actors, but we must start with customer service. Because our company is responsible for top brands, the image must be outstanding and the voice must be good. And if we need to shoot MVs or advertisements at that time, we will give priority to selecting suitable girls from the customer service. Tangda applauded directly after hearing this. Beautiful, Jimmy, you did a great job. In fact, this matter achieved multiple goals at one stroke. Not only did we find high-quality customer service, but we also obtained our own actor reserves. More importantly, Tangda was reminded by Jimmy and immediately thought of a cool operation. Jimmy, you inspired me. Let's do this. In the future, we will also implant our customer service ladies in advertisements. Just like a beauty pageant, the one who works the hardest in each issue can get a chance to show her face, and we can even sign them if they perform well. Anyway, we are familiar with CAA. We will arrange various photo shoots for her, songs, acting, and package her to make her famous. They will become the future face of Supreme Creativity. This process is the same as the Victoria's Secret model contract. On the one hand, it is a gimmick, and on the other hand, it is also to promote its own products. Although Supreme Creativity does not have any products to sell for the time being, as long as it can train a few beautiful actresses, the commission will be huge. This model can be regarded as a variant of the Tokyo Idol training company, or as the Owl Girls trained by Hooters, and can also be regarded as the prototype of the future MCN company. As long as the girl performs well enough, with the company's resources, it will definitely be easier for her to step into the field of modeling, singing and even acting. Even if she can't become an actor, she can still make money as an internet celebrity. But this requires Tangda himself, or the entire company to have enough resources and connections, but this is also Tangda's original goal, isn't it? Wow. It sounds great. Tangda, if we do this, won't we become an agency? Jimmy also got excited. Of course, why should we limit ourselves to advertising? We will definitely develop in many directions in the future. Media group, do you understand? Amazing. Jimmy got even more excited after hearing this, and took out a bottle of red wine from the newly bought wine cabinet and poured it for Tangda. Tangda picked up the glass, clinked glasses with Jimmy, and then drank it all. So what should we do next? Jimmy asked. Next? Tangda knocked on the table. Let's start our publicity strategy directly. In a few days, choose an outstanding girl from this group of girls, and I want her to appear on the screen. No problem. Leave it to me. Jimmy loosened the collar of his suit and whistled. Tangda looked at Jimmy's spirited appearance at this time, smoothing his hair back. He was very different from the yellow-haired boy in a jacket a few months ago, and he was much more confident. It seems that after having his own company, even if the shares are not many, Jimmy has entered a new state. But he still has to remind his good brother. Jimmy. Huh? What's wrong? Jimmy turned his head and they looked at each other. Tangda didn't say anything, just looked at him silently. They kept looking at each other like this until Jimmy's body slightly bent, and his forehead was slightly sweaty. He asked him awkwardly, "Why don't you speak?" Tangda. Tangda then raised the corner of his mouth and smiled. Nothing, it's just that the selection of customer service and the selection of advertising ladies in the future must be fair. This is the foundation of the company. Don't worry, Tangda, I won't mess it up. Jimmy breathed a sigh of relief and felt his heart slightly relieved. For some reason, when he and Tangda looked at each other, he always felt that he would be swallowed up in the next second, as if he was not staring at a human being, but a bottomless abyss. This feeling is even worse than looking at his parents. That's good, and there is absolutely no love allowed in the company. Tangda stood up and stated the company's bottom line: if you really fall in love, then one of the two must leave the company. Jimmy, I don't think you want to see an employee mess up the company for his own selfishness one day. Of course. Jimmy nodded decisively in agreement. Good brother, then it's up to you next. Tangda hugged Jimmy and walked out of the office. Outside the office, The group of customer service ladies were originally talking quietly together, but when they saw the boss coming out, they immediately quieted down. Tang walked up to them, stood still, and waited for them to turn their eyes to him before saying, "Girls, our first commercial is about to start shooting. Are you interested?" Of course. Hearing this, the girls looked at Tang with expectant eyes. This commercial will cost $800,000 and will be promoted in New York. Are you excited? Excited. All the girls couldn't help but get excited, and they all reached out to adjust their clothes to expose more skin at the neckline. Tang smiled, paused for a moment and said, "And I now need an actress, who is also the only actress who will appear in this commercial. I only have 3 requirements for this." The girls stared at him with wide eyes, wishing they could prick up their ears. Tang glanced at them, and then slowly said in the silence, "The first rule, be obedient. The second rule, be obedient. The third rule, be damn obedient." This year, during the spring and autumn period and the Warring States period, the spiritual energy was exhausted, and an old Taoist brought back a baby. This year, the Qin state attacked the Han state and began to unify, and the King of Qin began his glorious life. Awakening at some points to the panel, and you can sit back and watch the general trend, as the wind and clouds surge. One person and one dog live together forever. So what if the spiritual energy is exhausted? I am already immortal. Chapter 46 advertisement released. Jimmy worked very efficiently and selected a blonde girl the next day. Her name was Caden Cross. Tang always felt a sense of familiarity when he heard the name. It was not until he saw her in the office that he realized that he had seen her movies before. That's right, Caden Cross is the future female star of America. Of course, there is a prefix, adult. Tang raised his eyebrows. He didn't expect that he would recruit an adult female star who is outstanding in sexiness. But look at this girl's figure, curvy, blonde, blue eyes, delicate features like those silicone dolls, not to mention the sweet smile on her face. It's just that people want to hold her in their arms and play with her carefully. Which man would not be tempted to see such a woman? At least from Tang's picky eyes, he felt that she was full of sexual tension. But he was still a little confused. He turned to look at Jimmy and asked, "How old is she?" "She? Oh, I didn't ask, Caden, how old are you?" Jimmy smiled and looked at Caden Cross. "Me." Caden stretched out her hand and placed it on her erect peak, and said in a coquettish voice, "I just turned 18. "What? Damn. You're only 18. Jimmy's eyes widened. With such exaggerated body proportions and mature face, if he hadn't told him, he would have thought she was 25 years old. Tang also held his forehead. No wonder he felt a sense of disobedience, because he remembered that Caden started stripping when she became an adult, and now she just turned 18, which means she is still a pink and tender newcomer, and has not yet entered the dark world to perform. She is really talented. Jimmy was even more excited. That's right. Tang nodded. Since Caden can become a well-known actress in the European and American dark world in the future, it must be easy for her to shoot a sexy commercial. You come, Caden, get ready. Thank you, boss. Caden jumped up and thanked him. Only at this time could he realize that her age was not as mature as her appearance. Tang then asked, "So you are short of money? Why do you want to work?" "I want to buy all the horses in my hometown. They will be killed in a few months. It's so pitiful. Of course, I also like to perform and be a model. So I came here when I heard the manager said there was an opportunity." As Caden spoke, he held his hands on his waist, and the peaks looked more spectacular under the pressure. This is true, but in the original world, Caden Cross went to the strip club for those horses that were about to be slaughtered. Jimmy watched intently from the side until Tang kicked him and he came to his senses. "I see. Then have you had similar experience before?" "No." "Well, it doesn't matter, as long as you are obedient." "Don't worry, I will be very obedient." Caden blinked at Tang, and her pink lips slightly exaggeratedly emphasized the word obedient. When she walked out of the office to share her joy with other girls, Jimmy sat on the chair with his crotch covered. "Look at your behavior, Jimmy." Tang laughed mercilessly. "Okay, stop talking about me." "Tang, aren't you tempted?" Jimmy raised his fist in anger. Tang shrugged. "You know, Scarlett. Fuck, I'm such a bad mouth." Jimmy looked hopeless. "I shouldn't have asked you. You damn lucky bastard." "Ha ha ha, alright, go and help me find a studio, our commercial is about to start shooting." Jimmy stood up and opened the door to let the sunlight in, No problem, it's time to let the New York advertising companies know about our supreme creativity. He stepped out of the door. Pop! The next moment, the door closed. Pop! A day later, the door of the studio opened. Tang stood in front of everyone with a microphone, guiding them to arrange according to their own ideas. Caden. I want a sweet smile. Beautiful. Great, girl. Yes, that's the pose. Makeup, pull her neckline down a little, but don't show too much. Stockings, this pair is too thick, change it to a more transparent pair, black. Caden, you need to be sexy and charming, but not cheap. Don't lick your lips, that kind of cheap sexiness will only lower the company's grade. Do you understand? Yes, that's right. I like this one, Jimmy, keep another one. Caden's cooperation is very high. No matter how Tang commands, she will obey and do it obediently. And perhaps because she has never been in the entertainment industry, she doesn't have that kind of worldly air, so after putting on the tight uniform and black stockings that highlight her figure, she immediately fascinated all the men in the studio. After the shooting was completed, everyone found various excuses to talk to Caden, letting this girl experience the feeling of a star. And after Tang got the film, he immediately found a post-production company and started to produce the most creative promotional advertisements. In just 2 days, the post-production company rushed out the film under Tang's meticulous review. And this film was also shown to Henry as soon as possible. In Henry's office, after watching the advertisement 3 times in a row, Henry exclaimed, I can't imagine. Tang, how did you come up with this advertisement? Although I have said this sentence too many times, I still want to say, genius. Genius creativity. In fact, the creativity is quite simple, but it wins in the form of brainwashing. That's right. But isn't advertising about brainwashing? Wash the audience's brains into the shape you want, occupy their minds, and make them subconsciously tend to yourself when choosing. Henry spoke a lot of jargon that Tang had taught him. He has now completely understood these words and started to put them into practice. Tang smiled, you are right, Henry, so now the salute and matches are ready, just waiting for you to light the fuse. Don't worry, Tang, we are very familiar with the advertising channels in the United States. But I really didn't expect that you would actually take out $800,000 to place an advertisement. Henry looked at Tang with admiration. Although he had no way to invite Tang to join the Heinz Group, as long as there was investment, he would also gain a lot. And in his opinion, the bigger Tang's ambition was, the bigger the scale would be, the better. Because there would always be a time when the company was short of money, and then he would make additional investments and dilute the shares, and it was really uncertain who would own Supreme Creative in the future. But Tang had naturally anticipated his idea. As the saying goes, if every advertisement could be successful, then why would the company worry about having no money? Not to mention that if the customer service lady's strategy could succeed, the company would also get a lot of cash flow. Thinking of this, Tang raised his head and raised his glass to clink with Henry. Good luck. Henry smiled warmly. Thank you. Tang also smiled similarly. Chapter 47 Supreme Creativity. Ding dong. Hello. Thomas, how was your work today? At the luxurious and spacious elevator door, a man with a slicked back hair and a neat suit walked past the elevator lady and greeted his colleagues with full energy. Thomas, who was being questioned, leaned weakly on the elevator handrail, his face looking like a pig liver. It's terrible, Jovan. If I can't produce outstanding sales performance next month, I may be fired. He loosened his tie and felt that the cramped space made him breathe poorly. When he first joined the company, he thought the elevator was well ventilated. Jovan pouted and turned his back to Thomas with a funny expression. Thomas is in charge of the company's baked beans brand. When it was first launched, sales were hot and he was the most popular guy in the company. But now, with more and more new brands entering the market, the sales of this expensive and traditional canned baked beans have been declining. If this continues, he, as the person in charge, will inevitably be criticized by the board of directors. Jovan looked at Thomas's ugly face through the clean, even reflective golden ripple wall with a gloating look. He was still comforting. It's okay, Thomas. Haven't you already started the advertising bidding? I believe we will find a company that is strong enough, and maybe we can save the sales. After saying that, he pursed his lips and smiled silently. Obviously, he didn't believe it himself. Thomas didn't reply, but just looked up at the floor display on the elevator 30, 29, 28. For the first time, he felt that the speed of this elevator was so slow, as if it was going from heaven to hell. FXXK. Thomas couldn't help cursing and unbuttoning his suit one by one. The elevator was still going down. 21, 20, 15, 14, 2, 1. Ding dong. Thomas walked out of the elevator quickly, and Jovan hurriedly followed behind him, and the two walked down the high steps together. Thomas, there's no need to be so impatient. I believe the board will understand you. After all, you did so well in the past. Jovan's words hit Thomas's sore spot. Yeah, I did so well before. But now it's getting worse. Can't I keep up with this market? FXXK. That's not what I meant. You know. Past glory is not important, Jovan. No one understands better than us. If you don't do well, you have to give up your position to others. The company has always done this. So I have to think of a way. Finally, after walking up the long steps, Thomas took out the car keys, honked his car, and waited at the traffic light to cross the road. The next moment, he suddenly heard the slogan on the big screen in the square next to him. Supreme Creativity, the top creative supplier in the United States. What the hell? Thomas and Jovan, attracted by the slogan, looked up and found that an interesting advertisement was playing on the screen. I saw a blonde girl wearing a light blue short skirt and black stockings that perfectly outlined her body curves. She was holding a pointer, pointing at the center of the screen in a stop-motion animation. She had an outstanding appearance and a warm smile, looking extremely sexy. In the center of the screen, an animated TV appeared, with a slogan written on the screen. After the slogan appeared, a phone number appeared and stayed for 2 seconds. 2 seconds later, the animation changed again, and another billboard slowly appeared, still with the slogan and phone number written on it. Supreme Creativity, the top creative supplier in the United States. The sweet slogan voiceover sounded again. But this was not the end. 3 seconds later, the screen changed again, and a magazine appeared, with a slogan turned into a huge title written on it. At the same time, the slogan sounded for the third time, Supreme Creativity, the top creative supplier in the United States. When the advertisement disappeared from the screen, Thomas was still thinking about the slogan in it, and Jovan had already whistled. This chick is really good. I want to call her and ask for her contact information. Thomas, what do you think? Jovan noticed that Thomas was a little dazed, as if he was thinking about something. What's wrong? Jovan asked in confusion. Thomas looked back at him. Do you think this company's creativity is feasible? Jovan thought for a moment and laughed. Come on, Thomas. I haven't even heard of the name of Supreme Creative. It must be a new company. How can such a rookie meet the requirements of our company? But haven't you remembered it now? Thomas decisively grasped the core of this advertisement. It's not bad if you say so. Jovan frowned, but he still felt that it was just a fluke. But I think this is a trick, Thomas. You will remember anything if you say it 3 times. But I won't watch everything 3 times. The more Thomas thought about it, the more he felt that this advertisement should not be underestimated. He looked up and looked around. Many company executives who had just finished work were standing on the roadside, and their heads were also tilted up to look at the screen. Obviously, Supreme Creative chose to place the advertisement here just to let them see it. And they used a beautiful woman as bait. Which man wouldn't take a second look at that girl? I and Jovan are the best examples. Even the background used in their advertising creativity, TV, magazines, billboards, just covered all the advertising channels. It shows that every link of this advertisement is designed, one after another, simple and exquisite but not simple. What if this form is used on the canned baked beans that I am responsible for? Thomas clenched his fists excitedly. No problem at all. Thomas, have you really made up your mind? I think even if you let them come, they may not be able to bid better than other companies. Jovan spread his hands to express his concerns. Then let them try. Thomas and Jovan walked across the sidewalk, but did not look for their cars. Instead, they stood under the big screen waiting for the Supreme Creative advertisement to appear again. Okay, but I think this company is just taking shortcuts. They don't have any decent advertising slogans at all. They are too straightforward. Do they have to say America's best baked beans 3 times in a row? Come on, this is just lazy. However, no matter how much Jovan dissuaded him, Thomas didn't listen at all. He took his mobile phone and wrote down the number after the advertisement was broadcast again, and then got on the car and left the company. At the same time, in the meeting room of Ogilvy and Mather, a long-established top advertising company in New York, which was founded in 1948 and is known as the cradle of advertising people, advertising planners and senior executives were also discussing this highly creative brainwashing advertisement. Chapter 48, The Coming. Tell me, what do you think of this ad? Vinod, CEO of Ogilvy and Mather, put his hands together on the table and looked at other executives and advertising planners. I think it's great, very direct, and very brilliant. If I were those bosses or executives, I would at least remember the name when I saw it when I passed by. Lacey, the executive with short hair sitting on the left, praised it. But then Moz, the middle-aged executive with triangular eyes sitting on the right, retorted, I think this is just a trick, and it has no reference value. Is repeating the company name 3 times considered creative? They are tarnishing creativity. But you have to admit that this works well. Advertising is for effect. Lacey refuted his words. Moz was not to be outdone and retorted, advertising should serve the brand concept. Advertisements that do not express the brand are all shit, they will not stay, and people will not remember them, understand? So we rely on the 4 words of brand concept to convince customers. Lacey's voice gradually became louder. Moz also slammed the table and hit back, don't forget the foundation of our Ogilvy advertising. Unless your advertising is based on great creativity, it will be like a ship sailing at night and will not be noticed. We have not survived for so many years by relying on cheap creativity. The extraordinary creativity that David Ogilvy said is the criterion of the advertising industry. David Ogilvy is the founder of Ogilvy Advertising and the top advertising master of that era. The employees of Ogilvy Advertising have always admired what he said. When Moz offered this, the conference room suddenly became quiet. However, Lacey was not to be outdone. Encourage innovation, change is the source of our life, and stagnation is the death knell for us. This is also what David Ogilvy said. Vinod rubbed his eyebrows and felt a little headache. Since the young people headed by Lacey joined the company, they have clashed with Moz's faction. I don't know how many quarrels the 2 sides have had over advertising creativity, which made him a little upset. However, what Moz and Lacey said were right. Whether it was advertising effect or brand concept, they must insist on it. It's just a matter of opinion which one to focus on. There was no other way. Vinod, who had made up his mind to hold separate meetings, clapped his hands and said, okay, since everyone has mixed opinions about this advertisement, let's wait and see. I believe that the advertisement of this company will appear in front of us next time. After the meeting, Moz returned to his office and sat down on his chair with a serious expression. The advertising chief planner opposite him whispered, Boss, how should we do our latest razor advertisement and what direction should we take? Learn from the advertisements of supreme creativity. Moz replied casually, but he didn't get a reply. He looked up and found that the bald advertising chief planner was looking at him in surprise. What are you looking at me for? Shit, since there is a new creative form, why don't you use it? But I thought you didn't like it. Moz curled his lips, I don't like it, but so what? Customers like it, and this form is also very simple for us. We don't need to think of ideas. Just write an advertising slogan and play it 3 times. Although it is simple, it is enough to brainwash. And if you don't use it, that woman Lacey will also use it. What if she competes with us for customers? At this point, he emphasized again, but remember, it can't be exactly the same. Don't let Lacey, that stinky bitch, catch us. Okay, I know. The bald advertising planner nodded and bowed as if walking on thin ice. Okay, go and get busy. After everyone left, Moz took out his golden file and sharpened his nails. Supreme creativity, huh? It's interesting. At the same time, the customer service ladies of Supreme Creative Advertising Company were already talking dry. Hello, sir, this is Supreme Creativity. If you need advertising creativity, please leave your company name and phone number. What's your name, James? What a handsome name. What about me? My name is Cindy. Sorry, I may not be able to accept your invitation. Why don't you come to your company? Does your company mainly make car wipers? Then can I know how much you plan to spend on creativity? $100,000, okay, sir. Because the company has a lot of calls now, we will give you a reply after evaluation. Thank you for your call. Looking at this lively scene, Jimmy and Tangda looked at each other and smiled. I didn't expect you to know this kind of customer service skills, Tangda praised. Jimmy shook his head. No, I didn't train them. I just told them to get some basic information from customers, and let them do the rest. Really? That's pretty good. Tangda just finished speaking when he saw a girl next to him biting her lip and acting coquettishly into the phone. No. How can you be called Dick? I'm not. Okay, I'll do as you say, Dick. But can you tell me the name and size of your company? I want to know. Lighting industry, 30 people. Oh, you asked you if I want to meet you. Of course, Lilina wants to meet Dick. After meeting, what do you say, Dick? Yeah, love you, Dick. Tangda couldn't help but twitch a few times, and looked at Jimmy again. Jimmy spread his hands and said awkwardly, Oh, Tangda, you know, I didn't teach them to say that. Immediately find a professional customer service to come over and give them a good lesson tonight. Don't let people think that our supreme creativity is a whorehouse. The night Tangda gave the order, 10 customer service ladies received professional training, and finally avoided the risk of being visited by the wives of the company's senior executives in advance. And 3 days later, when the advertising effect gradually weakened, Tangda also got a list. On it were all the top-ranking companies in various industries that had called for consultation and left information. This was also what Tangda had specifically requested. Their supreme creative only serves high-end clients, not low-end clients. On the one hand, Tangda himself does not have so much energy, and he does not want to tie himself to the company. On the other hand, low-end clients are thankless, often asking for a lot and paying very little. In short, they are not of high quality. Tangda would rather go for an advertising campaign than to waste time modifying his own ideas for those clients. So after screening a large number of companies, only 7 remained in front of him. And there is only one company that has urgent advertising needs recently. Gia's Baked Beans. This is a local American food brand. Their baked beans were once popular all over the United States, but now, because of the old flavor, sales have been declining year after year. Tangda knows this canned food. Carmela often buys it because she often says that it tastes like the old days. However, in Tangda's view, blindly following the old ways will only make the product passive. Baked beans are not Coca-Cola, and no one is willing to eat the same flavor all the time. But if he is responsible for the advertising creativity, that is another story, because he happens to know a classic idea that is just right for the skin of Gia's Baked Beans. Tomorrow morning's chapter may be reviewed. If it is not published by 8 o'clock, please wait patiently. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49: The So-Called Kidnapping. Let's put the advertisement of Gia's Baked Beans aside for now, because their advertising campaign will not start until later. Tangda, who has been busy with company affairs for several days, finally has a weekend of his own. He just finished dinner and was sitting on the sofa at home, listening to his 2 younger brothers playing in the band. Regius, you hit the wrong place. Halfway through the performance, Louis suddenly put his hands down from the keys and complained about Regius's mistake. Regius stopped the drumsticks and argued in a low voice, "You were wrong first, not me." "It's you, Regius. I have a good ear, don't try to fool me." Louis walked to Regius' side. He was taller and stood in front of the light brown-haired Regius, acting like a brother. Regius immediately pursed his lips and looked aggrieved. "I really didn't. How dare you say that?" Louis stretched out his hand and pushed Regius' shoulder, pushing the little boy to stagger. Regius couldn't help but reach out his hand to wrestle with Louis. The 2 children wrestled from the living room to the kitchen like 2 bulls, and finally continued to argue behind Carmela. "Stop. 2 little troublemakers." Carmela pulled them apart, and stretched out her wet hands to pinch the 2 little faces and pulled them. "It's so cold." The 2 children shouted in unison, and then escaped from Carmela's clutches. Carmela smiled and wiped her hands on her apron, watching Louis and Regius reconcile, and returned to the living room to continue playing. Tangda watched this warm scene that was no different from the past, and smiled as he peeled an orange and patiently tore off all the white orange peels on it. This was his way of passing time and calming his thoughts. At this moment, he was still thinking about future plans and which neighborhood to move his family to. But soon a text message sounded, and Tang took out his mobile phone and saw that it was Scarlett. He hadn't chatted with her for a long time. Tang stuffed an orange slice into his mouth and opened the text message. Dear Great Night Mr. Tang, I have to tell you a sad news. Your Miss Scarlett has been kidnapped by me. If you can't tell me the address in the photo, you will never see her again. Tang raised his eyebrows. After reading Scarlett's teasing text message, he felt that he should really press her down on the bed and spank her. After waiting for a while, Scarlett's selfie appeared in front of him. However, contrary to her usual practice, Scarlett did not take the photo indoors, but stood on a red iron tower. It can be seen that this position is very high, and there is no one around. Only the bright lights and dense buildings in the distance present a miniature landscape in the picture. But Tang didn't pay attention to those things, because his eyes were focused on Scarlett's chest. This girl was actually wearing a tight black corset. She opened the red leather windbreaker outside to face the camera, allowing Tang to see the white peak. With her red lips, it was really dazzling. Tang stood up from the sofa and went to the balcony to reply to the message. I didn't expect you to treat Miss Scarlett like this. Mr. Kidnapper, I suggest you step up your efforts. Damn it, didn't you even ask her if she was having trouble breathing? Don't you want to save her? Of course I do, but I think Mr. Kidnapper is still too kind. Isn't she quite comfortable? Tang smiled and sent a text message. The next moment, another photo was sent. This time, Scarlett was sitting on the ground, and the camera was a first-person overhead shot. Her white thighs looked more voluptuous because of the squeezing, and her sexy bare ankles were tied with black high-heel shoelaces. As for the upper body, she used 2 fingers to pull open her corset, completely revealing the 2 peaks except the top of the mountain to Tang. Tang whistled, his fingers flying. That's right, Mr. Kidnapper, I like this one. I'm not asking you which one you like. If you don't answer, I'll push Miss Saint down. Okay, Mr. Kidnapper, don't hurt my Miss Saint. I'll tell you the address now, okay, Tokyo Tower, right. You guessed it right, Mr. Knight. It seems that you really know the iconic buildings in various places. Since you did it, I'll let her go. Tang didn't reply to the message. After waiting for a while, the text message rang. How did you guess it? Why, are you familiar with Tokyo too? Scarlett always felt that Tang seemed to be near her. He easily found her location last time, and this time it was the same. Tang smiled, I just saw a lot. The shape and color of this tower are very unique, aren't they? That's right, no matter what the status of people who have been baptized by the internet, their horizons are at least much broader than those of people in this era. Not to mention that Tang had really been to Tokyo Tower. In order to learn from the dark world, he went to Tokyo to live for a period of time and participated in the filming of several classic films. Thinking about the time when he talked and laughed with Mr. Kato Ying, he really missed it. Okay, Mr. Knight who has seen a lot, since you guessed it, do you want to come to the hotel in Tokyo and press your saint lady on the bed? Scarlett's tone was full of teasing. This damned scene made Tang's little brother furious. Luckily I'm busy now and can't go over, otherwise you will know what it means to be unable to get out of bed. Scarlett quickly sent a text message. I don't believe you can do it, you are really narcissistic. Mr. Great Knight. Sooner or later you will know that I am not lying, my saint lady. Since Mr. Great Knight can't come to ravage your poor big-breasted saint lady, you can only wait for the next time. I wonder if Mr. Great Knight will be so lucky next time. Miss Saint Lady should be worried. If Mr. Great Knight really finds you, what will happen? I'm really scared. Mr. Great Knight, I beg you for mercy, you must forgive your humble Saint Lady. Scarlett sent another photo right after she finished speaking. She was seen kneeling on the ground, her white and tender knees were pressed to healthy red, her body was straight, one hand holding the mobile phone to take a selfie, and the other hand holding the buttons of her corset and gently pulling it open. The deep canyon appeared so clearly in the picture. Under the influence of gravity, the mountain showed its most natural form, and under the half-covered clothes and macy buttons, one could even see the deeper mountain top. Tang pursed his lips, feeling even more fiery in his heart. Don't give me a chance, Miss Saint, otherwise you will definitely know what the Great Knight's punishment is. Chapter 50, Contempt for the Opponent. When Thomas, dressed in a suit, arrived at the door of Supreme Creative Advertising Company, the first thing he felt was the enthusiasm that was completely different from the company's repressive style. Hello, Mr. Thomas, I'm Cindy, Please come in. Cindy, with long red hair and a gentle appearance, reached out to take his briefcase and took him into the office area with a smile on her face. The decoration of the office area is simple and fresh, without too deep colors, all dominated by warm colors, which looks very pleasing to the eye. While walking, Thomas looked at Cindy's twisting hips and slender swan neck from behind, and couldn't help touching his lips. When passing by the customer service area, he stared at her. Those girls wore uniforms, beautiful makeup and hair, and charming postures. Some were answering the phone, some were tidying themselves up in front of their makeup mirrors, and some were laughing and chatting with their heads down. Seeing that there were guests coming to the company, they did not lower their heads like ostriches, but instead threw several seductive eyes at Thomas, making his legs involuntarily soften a few times. Only when he went up to the second floor and saw Tang and Jimmy, who had been waiting for a long time, did he straighten his back and resume his usual posture. "Hello, I am Thomas, the person in charge of Gia's Baked Beans." "Hello, Mr. Thomas. I am Jimmy, the advertising manager of Supreme Creativity, and this is Mr. Tang, the founder of Supreme Creativity." "Hello, Mr. Thomas." Tang and Jimmy sat down after Thomas sat down, and before they could speak, Caden walked in from the door, squatted down and placed coffee and tea in front of the three of them. Thomas took a look at the blonde and blue-eyed appearance, and suddenly asked in surprise, "Are you the one in the advertisement?" "Yes, sir, my name is Caden." Caden smiled and nodded, "Very sweet. You are so beautiful." Thomas's eyes lingered on her. "Thank you for the compliment." Caden blinked and got up and left. After the door closed, Thomas turned to look at Tang and said in a teasing tone, "If I hadn't seen your advertisement, I would really think you are a modeling company." Tang smiled and said, "This is all Jimmy's credit." Jimmy shrugged, "I just did what I should do. But, with all due respect, I don't seem to see other staff in your company. Do you only have customer service and actors here?" Thomas felt that Supreme Creativity was a bit like a shell company, and now only the bright and beautiful appearance could be seen. Tang nodded, "I know your doubts, but in fact, our company does not need so many advertising planners, only me is enough." "You alone?" Thomas felt unbelievable. Who in the advertising industry can say that they can always provide a steady stream of new ideas? Many people often only have a few years of highlight moments, and then they repeat themselves endlessly. "And me?" Jimmy interrupted. "Well, I don't want to deal with these things now. Since you say you are the top creative provider in the United States, do you have any cases?" Thomas came here this time to see the strength of Supreme Creative Advertising Company. Anyway, it seems that there is nothing to make him feel at ease except that the customer service ladies are very eye-catching. But soon, as Jimmy talked about the advertising cases that Tang had done, Thomas' eyes lit up. Domino's, Persian soda, tall sandwich cookies, Heinz ketchup, they are all your work. As practitioners in the food industry, they are also jealous of these advertisements that have greatly increased the sales of brands, especially Heinz ketchup. The market share has doubled because of the slogan "The Only True Ketchup," and this sentence has even been regarded as the classic advertising language of this year by major advertising companies. However, after everyone investigated, they found that this advertisement came from an unknown small company, Lion Advertising. And since Heinz ketchup, this company has never produced any amazing advertising works, so everyone's attention to it has also decreased a lot. Thomas didn't expect that it was because Tang and Jimmy left Lion Advertising that it became quiet. "Yes, I'm working on my own now," Tang and Thomas explained, and then continued, "So you can rest assured that we have a complete plan for the creative idea of Gia's Baked Beans, including the slogan and the shooting format." Thomas asked tentatively. "Of course, everything is included," Tang answered confidently. "Okay, but I really don't have time to listen today." Thomas looked at his watch. "I have to attend the company's board of directors meeting next. Time is very urgent. I can only talk about the key points. If you can come up with a sufficiently amazing advertising slogan, $200,000. If you can convince the directors to adopt the idea, another $200,000. And if your idea can really save our canned baked beans, believe me, I can get you all the advertising of the entire Gia group. But correspondingly, our advertising campaign this time is very strict. Ogilvy Advertising will also participate. Everything depends on strength. Even if you bring that customer service lady Caden over, it will be the same. So I hope you will treat it carefully. I am not forcing you to choose." Of course, in the advertising industry, creativity is king. Tang and Jimmy nodded at the same time. Thomas took a deep breath and planned to give supreme creativity a chance and let them temporarily join this advertising campaign. After he left, Jimmy said worriedly, "Although I haven't been in the advertising industry for a long time, I have heard of Ogilvy. Maroney is just praising this company to the sky. I heard that it is full of well-known creative planners in the industry. Everyone, I mean everyone, has more than 10 years of experience in the industry." Although Jimmy trusted Tang very much, in front of these professionals, the two of them were like two bumpkins, and there was nothing to praise at all. Even with the Heinz ketchup advertisement as an endorsement, Ogilvy has been established for so many years, and countless companies have been saved by advertising. Countless small and medium-sized companies have rushed to find them to advertise, but they can only be turned away. Only group companies like Gia's are worthy of their attention. And this time they are actually facing off against the industry leader? What a joke. So what, Jimmy? Tang picked up the black tea and took a sip. "We must despise the enemy strategically." "What do you mean?" Jimmy didn't understand this sentence. "It means that no matter who they are, they don't need to be taken seriously when it comes to advertising creativity, because the highest creativity is the best." Tang had a blank expression on his face, as if this was his true thought. After listening to this, Jimmy slowly nodded his chin. "Yeah, that's right. Do you know what I admire most about you, Tang? It's your damn confidence." "Yes, so what about Ogilvy?" "Kill them. But now I'm giving you a task. Find out who the advertising planner sent by Ogilvy this time is. What projects have they done before? I believe that such a large company should have a lot of information circulating, and it's not difficult to find out." Jimmy was stunned. Wait. Aren't we supposed to despise them?" Tang turned his head to look at him and smiled. "Of course, but there is a next part to this sentence. We should despise the enemy strategically and pay attention to the opponent tactically. At least we should know the opponent's general strategy to deal with it, right?" End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.